Chapter 1596. Wu Weiyang's eyes turned cold as he stared at the silver-robed youth on the ancient Taishi dragon's back. "You are Lin Chen?" Lin Chen raised his eyebrows and said with a mocking smile, "That's right. The most handsome person in the sacred boundary, the most coquettish person in the wave. Super long, exclusive to the number one." Wu Weiyang laughed in anger. "Very good. I've never seen anyone who dares to provoke my battle god family clan. You are the first and will be the last." Bang! Bang! Wu Weiyang took a step forward and instantly traversed 5,000 kilometers. He shuttled through the void and crushed everything along the way. His movement technique was so fast that it was actually the battle god's step. In just a few breaths, Wu Weiyang teleported over as if he had crossed dimensions. The battle god family clan also began to move. 3 streams of light slashed over like swords, blocking Wu Weiyang's path. Rip! Bang! Wu Weiyang was puzzled. Oh! He saw that the ancient Taishi dragon's attack was blocked by 5 people. Wu Weiyang's expression changed slightly. Immortal Dawn Sex Jiang Wan son of the Essence Soul Skyfire, Situ Chongsheng. Battle Realms Long Jiushan and Yun Tianguang. You actually entered the holy prison and are still alive? He swept his gaze and discovered the holy prison team. With his experience and spiritual light as a sacred monarch, he immediately vaguely understood the situation. Long Jiushan laughed. "Even an old fellow like you is alive and well. How can we die?" Wu Weiyang was surprised. "My lord? With just Lin Chen?" Jiang Wan said coldly, "Brother Long, don't waste your breath on this old thing. Don't let him get close to my lord." Situ Chongsheng smiled gently and elegantly. "Miss Wan don't be anxious. With fairy white jade protecting the array, he won't have a chance." With that said, Situ Chongsheng waved his sleeve. A pitch-black, abyss-like barrier appeared around him. It was completely formed by the power of his essence soul. The essence soul great world formed by the essence soul descended and enveloped Wu Weiyang. Everything within hundreds of thousands of kilometers was a world created by the essence soul. There were mountains and rivers, and thousands of kilometers of snow fluttered. The essence soul fire burned everywhere, incinerating everything. The world is divided into heaven and earth, and the universe breathes in. 10 directions limitless, 9 tribulations reflect the universe. 9 tribulations of the 10 directions enter spacetime. White jade fairy Xiaoling Er's slender hands gently swayed, her 10 fingers dancing, agile and elegant. Tens of thousands of spatial rays began to transform into light beams, shuttling back and forth into the essence spirit great world. Buzz! As the space trembled, the inside of the essence soul great world became a fixed space. Xiaoling smiled indifferently. "This space has been completely sealed. Everyone, please fight to your heart's content. There's no need to worry about injuring the Lord." Wu Weiyang suddenly laughed. "Ha ha ha, with just 7 rank 9 peak stage cultivators, you want to stop me? Are you looking down on my martial god family?" Long Jiushan rubbed his palms and grinned. "You'll know if you try. I haven't beaten a saint king with my fists yet. Today, I'll use you as an example." At this moment, all the experts were stunned. The martial god clan Sage King was stopped the moment he appeared. However, the threat was still there. The martial god family clan had as many experts as there were clouds. Just the 9th Revolution Saints alone numbered 12. What could he, Lin Chen, use to block it? At this moment, Lin Chen stood on the head of the sacred dragon. 1 man and 1 dragon faced all the experts of the martial god family clan alone. What kind of method is this? It can't be some scheme, right? Why do you care what kind of scheme he has? We have so many people, can't we take down a young man? Kill him. Things will change if we delay. Strike first and gain the upper hand. The 180 saints of the martial god family clan immediately activated their movement techniques and shuttled through the void, rushing toward Lin Chen at an extremely fast speed. Almost no one understood what Lin Chen was doing. The everlasting old man pinched his fingers to calculate. Someone as strong as him, who had the title of #1 fortune teller in the sacred boundary, was similarly unable to see through what Lin Chen was planning. The next moment, the corners of Lin Chen's mouth rose crazily, and he skillfully put on his self-made sunglasses. Reddish-gold dragon chi surrounded Lin Chen, turning into a halo like divine clouds that enveloped him. The Taishi divine light was immediately activated. Lin Chen poured all of his dragon veins into this moment. It formed an extremely strong defense. Go! Lin Chen leaped and jumped right below the dragon's head. Rumble! The wind and clouds swirled. The sacred dragon roared, and its dragon tail rolled over. Under everyone's gaze, the sacred dragon actually swung its dragon tail, and pure strength exploded on the spot. The tail violently smashed onto Lin Chen's body. Bang! Lin Chen was sent flying by the sacred dragon's tail, and his entire body shot toward the entire martial god family clan's experts like a cannonball. At this moment, all the reclusive old monsters and old antiques were dumbfounded. What the F***ck was going on? He was charging toward the entire martial god family clan alone? It was not enough for him to fight the 9 saints alone, but he still wanted to fight more than half of the martial god family clan's elites alone? With the battle strength he displayed when fighting the saints, even if all of his clones attacked together, they might not be a match for an 8th Revolution saint. Furthermore, the Wu family 9th Revolution saints still had 12. This kind of action was akin to a sheep entering a pride of lions. It was equivalent to courting death. He actually dared to come alone? He's courting death. Kill this brat. Don't care about what schemes he has. No one below the Grand Sage stage can fight all of us alone and suppress him directly. The martial god family clan's experts reacted at lightning speed. Their auras instantly surged, and their might shook the heavens and the earth. Moves after moves of ultimate skills were unleashed, all of them heading towards Lin Chen. Bang! 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 The terrifying attacks crushed or hit Lin Chen again and again. His Taishi divine light withstood a sea of attacks and was on the verge of collapsing. Even after the divine dragon bloodline was strengthened, the Taishi divine light, which was known for its absolute defense, could not withstand the attacks of 180 supreme saints. Although the attacks shook Lin Chen's absolute defense, when it shattered, it also allowed him to successfully break out of the encirclement. Lin Chen rushed to the center of all the martial god family clan's experts. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. Don't care about what schemes he has. Just fight, beat him up ruthlessly. Ha ha ha, you're really courting death. You want to fight all of us alone? What kind of daydream is this? Just beat him up. All the Wu family clan's experts either sneered or looked at Lin Chen with disdain. Lin Chen grinned. His eyes under the black sunglasses looked especially crazy. Game over. Now is the time for the real trump card to explode. God Slayer! A golden talisman suddenly exploded in the space above Lin Chen's head. Its divine power was unparalleled in the world. The host has activated the orange-grade talent God Slayer. A total of 972 enemies have been detected. 4 Sage Kings, 18 perfected 9th refinement stage, 47 9th refinement stage cultivators. When the golden talisman fused with Lin Chen's body, a red divine glow appeared around him like a flying dragon and exploded instantly. Every expert present felt their hearts palpitating. Chi. Boom. 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 The earth trembled. The sky roared. The 45 hexagonal saint acupoints on Lin Chen's body suddenly expanded. A holy light vortex enveloped the 9 heavens and 10 lands and swept across the entire eastern part of the Sage Monarch domain. Oh no. Damn, he's going to condense his acupoints. Something's wrong. Retreat. The Wu family clan's experts sensed an aura that was close to divine power and instantly felt that something was wrong. In a very short period of time, Lin Chen's saint acupoints broke through 46, 47, and so on. Lin Chen's aura grew crazily. 46 saint acupoints were opened, exploding 6,500 times. 47 saint acupoints were opened at the last moment, exploding 6,500 times. Following that, 48, 49, 50, also 6,500 times. It was not over yet. Lin Chen's cultivation was like a hot knife through butter. It was still growing crazily. The once strongest trump card, the God Slayer talent, had appeared again. Chapter 1597. Within half a breath, Lin Chen's cultivation had reached 50 saint acupoints. Bam! 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 Rumble! With Lin Chen as the center, an infinite amount of saint qi exploded. It was unstoppable and turned the sky upside down. When the 9-colored saint light exploded, the space in the sky showed signs of breaking, and the sky was completely tilted. The saint light vortex covered all the Wu family's experts, and thousands of explosions occurred in a row. Although many Wu family experts had opened their saint acupoints and reacted quickly, they did not even have the chance to retreat. They were all affected by the terrifying explosion. Bam! 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 Some of the Wu family experts were caught off guard and were sent flying by the explosion. They fell into the godless river and were annihilated by the destructive aura in the godless river. Not even their ashes were left. Hiss! Oh my God! Lin Chen blew himself up. Countless experts felt their scalps go numb. Some of the rank 8 experts who came to help were forced to stop the battle and quickly retreat. Lin Chen's first acupoint condensation was already earth-shattering. Its power could be said to have sunk into 1,000 planes. 5 acupoint condensations exploded in a very short period of time. It was not inferior to the collective self-destruction of a saint. The entire eastern part of the Sage Monarch domain was completely overturned by Lin Chen's last-minute acupoint condensation. Smoke billowed and the sky darkened. Countless areas of vacuum were filled with hurricane-like destructive energy that poured out like tornadoes. The old antiques' mouths trembled. Lin Chen's explosion had directly destroyed 1/4 of the martial god family's experts. To be precise, they were sent flying to the godless river, and more than 44th Revolution saints died on the spot. It was too crazy. This was not something a human could do. However, Xing Jiutian and the Sun Moon Sect's junior sect master stared at the center of the explosion. It was as if a terrifying existence was about to be born. Even the knowledgeable Wuji old man almost pulled out his beard. For the first time, he looked shocked. There's such a thing? When the smoke billowed and dispersed, a powerful primordial spirit lit up the sky. It was as if countless galaxies had merged into the body. Something's not right. Look, Lin Chen's aura. Oh my God, there's such a ridiculous thing in this world. 52 saint acupoints. This kid broke through from the transformation realm to the life and death realm in one go? Are you King kidding me? He's crazy. He must be crazy. Why are the things that happened recently? It's not that simple. This guy's spirit and body-tempering saint power have all transformed. All the old experts who were Reclins were shocked speechless. Lin Chen's psyche had temporarily broken through to the Yuan Shen realm, and as he emerged, he turned into countless Yuan Shen phantoms. The might of the Yuan Shen descended upon the world, and with a single thought, he could annihilate billions of living beings. Saints God, saints sovereigns. And, sovereigns, saint divine saint of the domain of the earth saint earth heaven earth of heaven of the to the heaven of heaven to the heaven earth. One ray of saint light could break life and death. One ray of starlight could cut through heaven and earth. Just a life and death realm expert, I have killed countless of them in the past. False bravado, I will seek justice for the dead elders first. I don't believe a life and death realm expert like you can overturn the heavens. A few rank 5 Wu clan sages laughed in anger, their hand seals changed as they punched. Myriad forms profound wheel spun rapidly, it was Wu clan's red vein profound wheel fist, one punch to break all techniques. Not good. Don't attack recklessly. Wu clan's rank 9 sages shouted, but it was already too late. Lin Chen smiled faintly. He raised his hand and pointed out a finger, activating the wind demon perishing holy finger. Rip! A ray of light flashed across the sky, splitting into 5. Poochie! The ray of light tore through the red vein profound wheel before disappearing in a flash. The 5 Wu clan sages were dazed, blood flowed down their throats. Their defenses were like paper, they were penetrated into nothingness. Gasps could be heard from their throats as their heads tilted to the side, their bodies were separated from their bodies, they died with grievances. Such a thing actually happened? One move. Is this the battle strength of a life and death realm expert? Countless reclusive old monsters felt their scalps turning numb, their faces were filled with fear, their worldview crumbled once again. One finger killed 5 rank 5 sages. Rank 5 cultivation level, when fighting at full strength, could unleash at least 60,000 venerable power from their saint points. Those who could reach rank 5 cultivation level had even higher potential. The saint points opened at heaven opening realm would definitely be more abundant than ordinary rank 1 and 2 sages. The increase in saint power during advancement would be even more terrifying. Heaven opening realm experts were already famous great experts in the sacred boundary. If rank 5 sages appeared, they would be able to dominate an area and establish their own sects. However, such great figures were killed by a life and death realm expert with one finger? Even limitless old man looked at Lin Chen as if he had seen a ghost. This plane is too ridiculous. This little fellow's previous battle prowess, including the battle prowess of all his clones and divine dragon descendants, was at most on par with a sage at the 7th refinement stage. Now, he has actually broken through several levels. What kind of reincarnated god was this? Even with limitless old man's experience, he was also shocked, not just shocked, but truly frightened. Since ancient times, there had never been such a perverse increase in strength. This is my battle strength after reaching life and death realm. How wonderful, how carefree. Lin Chen had an intoxicated expression. This feeling of leaping through several realms in a short period of time was truly unstoppable. At this time, the system screen popped up. God Slayer innate talent has officially been activated, 46 saint points and above. Based on the highest number of condensed saint points, the host's strength will increase by 98,010 times in terms of cultivation level, pure strength, and mental state. Note: the system has reminded the host that the mental cultivation method Tai Sky concealing technique can be used in Tai space. The host's saint points will be of the same cultivation level as the primordial spirit. The God Slayer innate talent does not belong to this range. While the God Slayer innate talent is in effect, the sudden increase in cultivation level cannot be used with the mental cultivation method of Tai Sky concealing technique. The God Slayer innate talent's temporary God slaying saint point, which was the saint power obtained after the 46 saint points, was temporarily not suitable for Lin Chen's mental cultivation method at this stage. The 45 saint points have the effect of mental cultivation method, and the 46 saint points do not have it after the start. If this is the case, the next 5 temporary condensed saint points will be 6,500 times, corresponding to the next 5 expansion of the acupoints, plus the 10 saint points of the life and death realm. Lin Chen's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness, as if he had nothing to lose. Relying on the God Slayer innate talent, the 5 temporary condensed acupoints corresponded to the next 5 expansion of the acupoints. The next 5 temporary condensed acupoints were 8775 Supreme Power, 11375 Supreme Power, 14625 Supreme Power, 18,200 Supreme Power, and 32,500 Supreme Power. These 5 God-slaying saint points did not receive the boost of mental cultivation method, but even so, Lin Chen was still abnormally strong. Just the peak of the transformation realm alone, the maximum lethality of the saint power was 145,945 Supreme Power. Adding the 2 saint points of the life and death realm, Lin Chen's saint power could reach the maximum of 290,000 Supreme Power. At this moment, Lin Chen smiled faintly, very innocently. I, Lin Chen, have always been very fair, and I only like to fight one-on-one. Come, I will fight your martial god family alone, come at me together. Everyone. Chapter 1598. Challenging the battle god family alone? Was this something a human would say? Apart from the sage kings present, who else would dare to say such a thing? Lin Chen carried the demon-slaying spear on his shoulder and smiled. He stepped on the cloud shadow heavenly light and turned into countless blood clouds. Damn it, this lunatic is coming. Everyone be on guard. Fight Lin Chen with all your might. Don't underestimate him. This kid is the #1 enemy of the battle god family. We can't retreat. If His Majesty blames us, we will all have to pack up and leave. Lin Chen's movement technique was as fast as lightning. The blood shadow heavenly light flashed and spread. Wherever the blood shadow heavenly light passed, it was like a blood-colored cloud storm. It was even faster than the experts' voice transmissions. Just as their voice transmissions ended, rip, a red spear tip pierced through the 5th transformation saint's chest. Saint blood gushed out. Lin Chen's figure gradually turned into a cloud behind that person. Splat! Lin Chen pulled out his spear and retreated. His movement technique flashed again. His movements were smooth and smooth. He broke through the defense with one spear strike without any hesitation. The 5th transformation saint held his chest and spat out blood. He gritted his teeth. My saint heart is not broken. This kid can't kill me. Just as he was about to use his saint power to heal his injured body, bang! There was an explosion. The 5th transformation saint's saint heart exploded. He fell down in front of everyone, dying with grievances. Countless Wu family saints were horrified. What kind of strange means was this? Killing without a trace. Even the saint heart's strong vitality couldn't recover. Lin Chen said, I'm up. I killed him with one spear. What else is there to say? Destructive creation and destructive explosion talents have been activated. Target has been successfully killed. Note: Host is in the state of activating the God Slayer talent. Enemies will only drop a small number of attribute light balls. Growth attribute light balls will not drop. Chi. Cold air suddenly descended, and the surrounding space was instantly frozen. A 9th transformation saint wanted to use ice-type techniques to seal Lin Chen's movement technique. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Who would have thought that the afterimages in the void would become even more dazzling? In less than a moment, a miserable scream could be heard. Another heavily injured 4th revolution sage had died. Boom! A beam of sacred flame saber chi slashed down like a dragon, but it missed. Thousands of rays of holy light condensed into a dense holy net and covered the area. What was sealed was only an afterimage. As the rays of holy light drifted, it disappeared without a trace. Damn, this kid's movement technique is too strange. The experts of the martial god family were flustered and exasperated. Dozens of peak experts attacked one after another, but not a single one of them could lock onto Lin Chen's position. Lin Chen's spirit awakening had greatly increased the speed of his spirit awakening. He was already comparable to a 5th revolution sage. Using the God Slayer talent, his spiritual realm had temporarily broken through to the primordial spirit realm. After transforming his mind into a primordial spirit, Lin Chen's boundary had taken a qualitative leap. Now, even if he were to face a Ninth Revolution Saint's divine light reaction, he would be able to handle it with ease. The Wu family's sage king, Wu Weiyang, who was fighting against the 7 children of the era, was completely shocked when she saw Lin Chen's outburst. Where did this kid come from? He's actually only at the life and death realm? No, before his cultivation increased, he was still at the transformation realm. Could it be that he killed the martial god's son while only at the transformation realm? For a moment, Wu Weiyang's state of mind was in chaos. Long Jiushan laughed heartily. Ah, as expected of my lord. Strong, too strong. Yun Tianguang praised. My lord's movement technique speed is almost catching up to mine. Jiang Wan smiled sweetly. Our lord is always so unreasonably strong. Old monster Wu Weiyang, your Wu family can't take down our lord. Wu Weiyang's old face instantly sank. Who the F***ck could withstand this? A single person had blocked more than half of the Wu clan's elites. Outside the Godless River, the storm-like attacks crushed a large number of Lin Chen's afterimages. The Wu family was completely dumbfounded. If everyone fought together, it would be impossible for them to touch Lin Chen. But if they split up, it would be easy for Lin Chen to defeat them one by one. Clang! The saber whistled like a dragon's roar. Lin Chen held Absolute Blaze in his hand and smiled coldly. I'll give this saber to the Wu family as a greeting gift. God's tear. 5 colored clouds swirled around Lin Chen's arm. He suddenly swung his saber, and the tip of the saber shot out a blazing saber light that spun at lightning speed. Ambilight, instant light split shadow. Lin Chen gathered his strength and slashed out the strongest God's tear in history. This saber strike stunned all the experts. This was a flawless saber strike. The saber light spun like a full moon and shook the sky of the Sage Monarch domain. The saber light split into 5 and slashed toward all the Wu family experts. Before the Wu family experts could react, the saber light trembled. Chi! Bang! With a loud explosion, the saber light exploded. Millions of saber energy fragments were like broken jade, and they were like a violent storm that swept toward all the Wu family experts. The pupils of all the experts shrunk. These saber energy fragments were all different. Some were formed by primordial spirit mental power, some were formed by powerful holy power, and some were formed by pure strength. There were too many of them, and it was a dazzling sight. They could not react in time and use the best defensive method. Bang! 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 Endless saber energy fragments struck all the Wu family sages. Those rank 8 sages and above could barely block the saber energy fragments, but rank 7, 6, and 5 sages were doomed. Oh no, the Wu family members are going to suffer. What's terrifying about Lin Chen right now isn't just his cultivation. There's also that secret technique of his that's hard to guard against, and that explosion that breaks through defenses. Even this old man would be crippled if I were to face him. I might even lose my life. The two of them working together is simply the best weapon to kill sages. Lin Chen's God's Tears saber technique was a true Yoi divine skill. Not to mention, with the buff of Blink Shadow, Enhance Function, and other talents and techniques, the intermediate orange Yoi combat skill was far stronger than a normal one. The defenses of the Wu family sages were penetrated along with their sacred artifacts. Their sacred blood splattered as they were cut into pieces by the saber energy fragments, activating the talents Super Chaos and Extinction Rupture. After the saber energy fragments passed by, many experts looked at them in disbelief. This saber attack directly killed more than 10 rank 5 sages, heavily injured all the rank 6 sages, lightly injured 18 rank 7 sages, and pierced 5 rank 8 sages' defensive sacred artifacts. Only a small portion of rank 8 and rank 9 old monsters managed to escape unscathed. Almost half of the group's core strength had collapsed. Wu family members, I am a very fair person. If I say one-on-one, then one-on-one. Come, don't stop. Lin Chen laughed loudly. He did not use his saber, and instead used heaven-freezing sword. His body turned into a cloud, and with a flash of light, he charged into the group of Wu family experts. Those who were hit by God's tear were hit by extinction rupture, their injuries were severe, and their battle strength was greatly reduced. With the saber in hand, Lin Chen was unstoppable. In less than 15 minutes, Lin Chen charged out of Godless River and killed all the experts. The speed at which Wu family experts died made countless old antiques suck in cold breaths. The speed at which experts died in this battle was enough to be recorded in history. Lin Chen had gone crazy from killing. Almost everyone found it hard to believe that a life-and-death realm expert could be so heaven-defying. Even someone as strong as Old Man Limitless could not help but cry out in shock. This kid is fighting across several realms, according to this growth path. When he reaches Sacred Heart Realm and Heaven Opening Realm, wouldn't he be comparable to a Saint King? Chapter 1599. Just Lin Chen's meridian condensation stage power alone was enough to blow up more than 40 saints, causing them to fall into the Godless River and perish. In just 15 minutes, he had crushed more than 30 saints along the way. Even rank 5 saints could not withstand even one attack from Lin Chen, and they would die if he got close to them. Lin Chen's total saint power destructive power was more than 290,000 saint power, and he dominated the entire battlefield. He was more powerful than any rank 9 saint. To put it bluntly, with all of Lin Chen's orange tier talents, he was invincible against those below half-step Saint Kings. Even the servants on the 19th floor, other than Fong Ling, Lang Fanyun, and the other half-step Saint Kings, might not be able to defeat Lin Chen when he was in his God-Slayer state. Lin Chen swung his spear, and another rank 6 saint's defense was broken by Lin Chen, and he died after a dozen stabs. It was a shocking sight. Now is the time. Kill him! With a cold shout, tens of thousands of saint lights rose from all directions and formed a huge space-time saint net. Wu family's counterattack was finally here. The space-time saint net hung in the sky like the Big Dipper, and it flashed 7 times, sealing off the entire space. This was the Wu clan's 7 ultimate king sealing formation. It even had the heaven-defying ability to seal Sage Kings. Now that it was being used by 7-9 Revolution Sages, Lin Chen's movement technique was finally restrained. Rumble! In a flash, the 5 rank 9 saints of Wu family raised their hands to the sky and formed a ghostly giant hand that seemed to come from hell. Heavenly Ghost Dragon Palm. The purplish-black ghostly aura was filled with a deadly aura, and the giant hand turned into a palm print that was hundreds of feet large, and it smashed towards Lin Chen at lightning speed. This palm could destroy 10,000 layers of planes, and the old antiques watching the battle felt the power of a forbidden technique. It was a high-grade orange tier technique. 5 rank 9 saints used it at the same time, and its power was close to that of a half-step Saint King's ultimate attack. Lin Chen smiled, and he did not intend to dodge. He wanted to take it head-on. Rumble! TSK. Within the space of the 7 ultimate king sealing formation, the 5 heavenly ghost dragon palms collided and shattered the formation space. No, I don't feel like I hit him. Where did that brat go? The saints of the Wu clan were stunned. Did he escape? Impossible, even a Saint King can't break through the 7 ultimate king sealing formation we set up together. His aura has appeared again. Be careful. The 12 Ninth Revolution sages were on standby. Almost in an instant, a blood-colored storm of clouds appeared behind Wu clan's group. In his palm, 9 types of brilliant starlight revolved, and he suddenly threw them at the Wu clan's sages. With a swoosh, a beautiful and gorgeous 9-colored starlight broke through the sky and split into 5, blooming from where the experts of the Wu clan were gathered. 9 Tribulations star had entered the God Slayer state. Lin Chen laughed heartily. Here's a big gift for you guys, take it? The 12 Ninth Revolution Saints were horrified. The destructive aura contained in the 9-colored starlight was enough to shock even them. However, the most important thing was that this move was not aimed at them, but at the other elders of the Wu clan. The 9-colored starlight came extremely quickly. Before the Wu clan and the others could retreat to a safe distance, 5 brilliant 9-colored light pillars bloomed between heaven and earth, piercing through heaven and earth, and piercing through the galaxy. This move stunned a large number of experts. Ing Chuanxiu said, "This brat is only at the life and death realm, but he can unleash such an attack?" Zhenchan glanced sideways. "In the future, if this brat enters the Sacred Heart realm, won't he have the battle power to match mine?" Shang Guanjue said, "My taste in men is getting better and better, ha 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 ha." As the 9-colored light pillar spun, it enveloped the void outside the godless river and a radius of millions of miles. Space-time was distorted, and more than half of the Wu clan's experts could not retreat. They were sucked in by the 9 Tribulations star. Even if they used many life-saving trump cards and defensive techniques, when they were sucked into the 9-colored light pillar, all of their defenses would be quietly crushed. Then, when they had no means to resist and only relied on their sacred power to defend, their injuries would worsen, and they would quickly die. Even if I now have the battle power to match most 9th Revolution Saints, these old monsters are not so easy to kill. I'll kill most of the elders of the Wu clan first. Lin Chen used his movement technique and opened the Providence plant pouch. His sacred points quickly refined a large amount of golden sacred origin coins to replenish his consumption. High-grade sacred pills were stuffed into his mouth as if they were free to replenish his consumption. 9th Revolution Saints were not ordinary people. Lin Chen's battle power and methods were very extreme, unlike ordinary experts. Previously, when the 12 Ninth Revolution Saints joined forces, Lin Chen directly escaped into the ultra-space-time dimension and teleported to the position of a phantom doppelganger that he had set up in advance. He did not even plan to fight head-on. He just wanted to run. As long as he could injure his opponents and trigger the talents of Extinction Rupture and Destructive Explosion, the opponent's battle power would plummet. If the 9th Revolution Saints fought him in groups, it would not be so easy to injure them. Marshal Lin's thoughts were clear. He would kill most of the Wu clan experts first. It would be a win-win situation. Boom, boom, boom. The 12 Ninth Revolution Saints gathered their strength and attacked again. The 9 Tribulations star was shattered. However, Wu clan sages were either dead or injured. Compared to when they first arrived, almost half of the people had died. Only 90 people were left. Those who survived were basically Wu clan elders with rank 7 cultivation level and above. Lin Chen gave the 12 Ninth Revolution Saints an international friendly middle finger before using his movement technique to attack the other Wu clan experts. They were so furious that they were forced to move again to stop Lin Chen. Seeing this, Wu Wei-yang, who was inside that Essence Soul Great World, was completely enraged. "Good, very good. Lin Chen, you dare to kill so many of my Wu clan's elites. I will not rest until you are dead." Wu Wei-yang's palm destroyed heaven and earth, forcing Yun Tianguang, Situ Chongxing, and Jiang Wan to retreat. Her eyes were bloodshot and filled with rage. Xiao Ling pointed at the void and space froze again, restricting Wu Wei-yang's movements. She shouted coldly, "We must delay him, we cannot let him go to Master." "Of course. I will do the same even if it is a sacred king. I will bet my life on it, I will stop him here." Rumble. With a furious roar, Long Jiu Shan held his axe with both hands and slashed horizontally. The sky split open as a trace of blood light slashed out. Wu Wei-yang flicked her sleeves. 100 saint points burst out with 1,000 realms holy power. After breaking through the restriction, she grabbed a halberd with one hand. The halberd was dark red with dragon marks coiling around it. It was like a supreme holy artifact. The moment it appeared, it commanded everyone. It could split heaven and earth. This was actually a rank 9 holy artifact. Zhen Chan narrowed his eyes. She forced this Wu clan old monster to use his rank 9 holy artifact. These guys, although they are still rank 9 peak stage, they have a desire to break through. They are really something. Chapter 1600. Holding the 9th grade halberd, Wu Weiyang waved it toward the sky and pierced toward Long Jiushan, shattering his pure strength attack. The holy light pierced through the blood light and hit Long Jiushan. He flew backward, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. Rip! In an instant, the scythe formed by the holy power appeared above Wu Weiyang's head like a ghost. The invisible blade seemed to jump through space and pierce toward Wu Weiyang's saint heart. This murderous intent sent chills down Wu Weiyang's spine. The chill went straight to the top of her head. Clang! Clang! Wu Weiyang activated her defensive technique and spun her halberd, knocking the two back with lightning speed. Cold sweat flowed down her face. Despicable assassins! Even I almost fell for it. As expected of the two strongest assassins in the history of the heavenly sanctuary. Tian Ho and Dimiez's sneak attack failed. When they were knocked back, they still created an opportunity for Situ Chongsheng and the others. Long Jiushan wiped the blood off his face and cursed. Damn it, this is cheating. A 9th grade halberd with a holy king cultivation. Isn't he suppressing us? We're at the peak of the 9th transformation stage, and we're empty-handed. We can't beat him even if we gang up on him. If our famous weapon was still here, he wouldn't have injured us so easily. A 9th grade weapon was one of the ultimate pursuits of the saints. In the sacred boundary, very few people had it except for holy kings. Since ancient times, grade 9 masterpieces were rarely seen in the long river of history. The weapon in Wu Weiyang's hand was the Sky Hell halberd that was forged by the Grandmaster Forger Shin Yu clan during the 47th era. A holy king with a 9th grade halberd could defeat an ordinary 9th transformation saint in a head-on battle. Jiang Wan turned into a beam of light and flashed past. Brother Jiushan, now is not the time to complain. The Lord has done her best to heal our injuries and improve our cultivation. We can't take a step back now. I know. Be careful. I'll cut off his escape route. Long Jiushan regrouped and attacked again. The battle in the spatial enchantment became more and more intense. Just as the outside world darkened, Jiang Taishu, who was holding all the strong cultivators together, suddenly changed his expression. What's going on? So fast. What kind of life form was this? Traversing through the void and moving between planes is simply impossible to trace. Fortunately, I returned to the Divine Secrets Pavilion to retrieve the carefree flag. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have been able to deduce it. Jiang Taishu immediately sent a telepathic message. Gui Jianchou, Brother Azura, Hai Yu Fei Shui. Go and support the Lord. There are mysterious creatures and saint kings approaching the Lord's position. With this order, the 12 Ninth Revolution sages on the 18th floor immediately took action. With the loss of 12 Ninth Revolution saints, the battle pressure in Divine Flame Palace increased sharply. The absolute advantage that Lin Chen's team had previously occupied was instantly evened out. For example, Zi Qianchou and the other servants on the 19th floor had no choice but to fight 1 against 3 or even 4 to hold back the supreme elders of the Divine Flame Palace and the powerhouses of the Saint Prison. At the side, Yu Wangxing immediately formed a seal and transmitted his voice to the servants. Everyone, don't be at a disadvantage and be suppressed by the other party. Everyone can use the spare one-time use pills. The temporary increase in strength is quite considerable. This old man has already reduced all the side effects to a minimum. The servants looked at each other and exchanged glances. Many 7th grade divine pills appeared in their palms, and they immediately swallowed them. Boom, boom, Boom! Beams of saint light shot into the sky, and the clouds rose. Strange phenomena appeared. Lin Chen's servant's saint aura skyrocketed. When the saint force of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning appeared, it could be said that the primordial saint spirits had descended to heaven and earth. With Yu Wangxing at his peak refining pills, the pills that could temporarily increase saint force were easy to obtain as long as they had the resources and time. The increase in the combat power of the servants pulled back the disadvantage that they had just created. They could afford to waste time, but the supreme elders of the Divine Flame Palace could not. Secondly, many of the people of the Saint Prison had been killed or seriously injured earlier, and their combat power was reduced. When the 12 Ninth Revolution sages rushed to Lin Chen's position, Jiang Taishu's telepathic message reverberated in the minds of all the servants and Lin Chen. "My lord, things are not going well. Another Saint King is attacking in your direction." The servants' expressions became tense. The current situation was still considered balanced. If another Saint King came, the battle would definitely tilt. Jiang Taishu's telepathic message immediately made Lin Chen stop. His expression changed, and he quickly retreated. Tang Haiyue, Gui Jianqiu, and the rest immediately rushed over to protect Lin Chen. Tang Feishue said seriously, "My lord, you go first. Leave the rest to us." Blood Shura, who was a man of few words, nodded and said solemnly, "My lord, don't worry. Even if we are not as strong as Big Brother Zi Qianqiu and Senior Long, we will risk our lives to block this Saint King for you." Lin Chen laughed and scolded, "What nonsense are you talking about? Do I look like someone who needs to rely on you to escape?" A sharp light flashed across his eyes. "So what if he is a Saint King? No matter who he is, I will dare to attack him if he dares to come." Seeing that Lin Chen had temporarily stopped, the Wu clan's troops retreated and guarded against Lin Chen and the rest. The casualties in this battle were too fast. He had Blood Monarch Yun Tianguang's movement technique, Essence Soul Realm spiritual power, and Peak 9th Refinement stage battle prowess. He also had terrifying means to prevent saints from recovering after they were injured. He also had ultimate moves like his ultra space-time talent to avoid fatal attacks at critical moments. The Wuji old man was amazed. What a heaven-defying young man. He actually killed 90 saints from the Martial God clan in such a short time, especially the Holy Hell and Divine Flame Palace. They could be said to be breaking out in cold sweat. Fortunately, they were facing Lin Chen's servants or the rank 8 forces that had come to support them. If they were facing Lin Chen, even if they were not dead, they would be crippled. In all fairness, if it was any other 9th Revolution saint, they would not be able to achieve Lin Chen's terrifying speed of slaughtering saints. Unless a Saint King attacked personally, it could be said that Lin Chen's current strength was not comparable to a Saint King's, but he had achieved something that only a Saint King could do. The Saint Dragon swam through the void and absorbed all the attribute light balls dropped by the fallen experts into its dragon body. Boom! Before Lin Chen and the others could communicate, thousands of dark curtains rolled down from the sky on the opposite side of the godless river. The dark aura was like a tide, covering the stars and the moon. It was actually not affected by the godless river's pressure and opened a space passage that extended downwards. A team walked towards them. The experts from the various forces were immediately nervous. Were they enemies or friends this time? Haha, it's really lively today. It's just as you expected. With Jiang Taishu around, they predicted our location in advance. The human race's fortune-tellers are really amazing. As expected of the guy who can avoid our great plan time and time again. It's a pity that we can't sneak attack this time. I love sneak attacks the most. We've lost at least 100 million this time. It's okay. Those who deserve to die this time will all die. A few mocking and ruthless sneers echoed. Lin Chen and Shangguanju's expressions changed at the same time. Shangguanju exclaimed, "It's him!" Lin Chen gripped the demon-slaying spear tightly. Killing intent surged wildly between his brows as he said coldly. Son of heaven? Clear sky Saint King. Under the godless river that was surging with red clouds, the team that was approaching them was son of heaven, ultimate shadow, and clear sky Saint King. Even the helpers of the demon race had come. Chapter 1601. Lin Chen communicated with the Aries set. If there were any accidents, he would use his strongest trump card immediately. Son of Heaven looked down at Lin Chen from high above. There was a noble arrogance between his brows. That was the conceit of a king. This time, Lin Chen finally saw Son of Heaven Yin's cultivation clearly. He had 99 saint points all over his body. At the center of Son of Heaven Yin's brows, a hexagonal star was faintly discernible. The 100th saint point was just half opened. Half-step Saint King. Son of Heaven Yin was actually a half-step Saint King. Although he wasn't as good as Shangguan Wudi and Fong Ling, his cultivation had already suppressed most of the experts present. In addition to the ultimate shadow, 3 demon experts with unknown auras, and clear sky Saint King, this lineup was enough to tilt the current situation. No wonder that guy was able to stop Senior Shangguan back then. As expected, he's a monster. He used to be an ambitious and ruthless person. Now that he's here, does it mean that he wants to take my life here? There's also the clear sky Saint King. Did he come back to life as well? In the blink of an eye, Lin Chen thought of thousands of possibilities. Protect the Lord. They will come over from the godless river in a dozen breaths' time. Tang Feishue, Gui Jianchou, and the rest floated in the air and flashed to Lin Chen's position. Wu family and the rest laughed. Ha ha ha, the heavens are really helping me. Your Excellency Clear Sky Saint King, leave these guys to us. You can focus on dealing with that kid. Clear Sky Saint King raised his brows. Oh? Wu family, since you want to cooperate, I only want this kid's secrets and my own things. Their lives are yours. Happy cooperation. Both sides communicated with each other quickly and reached an agreement within a breath's time. When the clear sky Saint King looked at Lin Chen, his eyes were filled with hatred. Brat, it's all your fault for ruining my grand plan and causing me to descend into this world in this half-dead state. Today, I will definitely pull out your tendons and skin you alive. Chi. Wu family's 12 Ninth Revolution saints executed their movement techniques and turned into wind, clouds, dragons, and tigers. Their movement techniques were shocking and blocked Lin Chen's 12 servants. Demons Grimace and the others were forced to fight, and they gnashed their teeth. I didn't expect them to work together so quickly. I thought they would fight like dogs biting dogs. Once Wu clan's group attacked, the 12 servants were all intercepted. They had rank 9 cultivation level. It was impossible to determine the victor in a short period of time. Not good. The Lord is in danger. F***ck. Let's fight it out with these bastards. Zi Qianchou and Ji Wuchen's expressions were solemn at once, the determination to cut off all means of retreat flashing across their faces. However, before the first wave had subsided, another wave arose. The purple light energy storm, accompanied by a shocking explosion, suddenly exploded and swept out of the godless river. The essence spirit great world that had always been stable and the spatial barrier that Xiao Ling had constructed had actually been broken. Wu Weiyang waved the heavenly prison halberd and forced everyone to retreat. Tian Xing, Demia, Situ Changxing, and the others all flew out and fell to the ground. Only Long Jiushan, Yun Tianguang, and Jiang Wan were fighting against Wu Weiyang. Even with the 7 of them working together, they were still unable to stop Wu Weiyang. However, from a certain point of view, this was already quite a miracle. Wu Weiyang waved the heavenly prison halberd madly and forced Long Jiushan and the others to retreat step by step. A trace of pity appeared in her eyes. If I am not a match for them, I really want to recruit these people into my Wu clan. Even though they were enemies, Wu Weiyang still admired these 7 people. Rank 9 peak stage saints could not even defeat a half-step Saint King, let alone a true Saint King. If they did not need to protect Lin Chen, they might be able to deal with her, and even if they could not defeat her, they could still escape unscathed. However, the 7 of them still needed to protect Lin Chen and stop this Saint King who had been famous for hundreds of eras. They had already created an unprecedented battle with someone of a higher cultivation level. Even if they were defeated, it was still a glorious defeat. Get lost. Long Jiushan, if your saint body could reach a higher level, you might be able to fight against me, but right now, it is still not enough. Wu Weiyang suddenly stabbed her halberd, and a rolling sharpness pierced through the sky like a sharp blade, breaking Long Jiushan's defense layer by layer. Long Jiushan's saint body's skin and flesh were torn open, and his saint blood spurted out. With a muffled cry, he fell down. Clang! Jiang Wan-er's sword was like a long river, but it pierced through an afterimage. Oh no! Jiang Wan-er's pretty face changed drastically, and she looked to the other side. Lord, be careful! Wu Weiyang used the Einherjar step, and each step was dazzling. She shifted the sky and almost instantly appeared above Lin Chen's head. The strength of the Einherjar family's Saint King was fully displayed. Almost at the moment when Long Jiushan was pushed back, he broke through the encirclement and charged to Lin Chen's position. Lin Chen's eyes turned and his face turned pale. When 9-colored starlight appeared in his palm, a look of madness flashed past his face. He actually planned to use the 9 Tribulations star again. The 9 Tribulations star was the only way he could fight a Saint King with his current cultivation level. Other than that, there was only the War God set left. Damn it, I can only use the War God set. But it consumes too much energy, and there is no chance to replenish it after it is used up. If I use it now, I can't turn the situation around. But I have no other choice. Brilliant starlight lingered in his left hand, and golden light surged in his right palm. The golden light of the War God flowed around Lin Chen's body. He was about to use his trump card. Ling used the spatial technique to teleport me to the Lord's position. A cold shout passed through Zhou Tianxing's seal of death into Xiao Ling-er's mind. She was slightly stunned. This voice is, almost subconsciously, the injured Xiao Ling-er gritted her teeth and pointed between her eyebrows. Buzz! A dazzling spatial light flashed on both sides and directly shifted the space on both sides. In the time it took to take 100,000th of a breath, the tall figure in the black robe suddenly teleported to the space above Lin Chen. A mere half-step Saint King dares to fight me one-on-one? You're courting death. When Wu Weiyang attacked with her halberd, her old eyes trembled. That person roared and swung his sword to meet Wu Weiyang's attack. Clang! Boom! 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 2 heaven-shaking saint auras blasted out in all directions. Even Lin Chen was knocked back by the shockwaves from the collision. When Lin Chen retreated, he was full of energy and said excitedly, This is... Whoosh! Rumble! At this moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the entire eastern part of the Saint Monarch region. Thunderclouds appeared out of thin air, and spiritual energy gathered like a tide. A majestic downpour arrived in an instant. 2 saint auras that ruled the world shone from 2 directions and soared into the sky. 2 huge saint auras that were tens of thousands of acres in size, accompanied by the phenomenon of thunder and rain, appeared out of thin air. All the strong cultivators stopped the battle in front of them for a moment, their expressions full of shock. Every powerhouse present miraculously recovered more than half of their injuries after being showered by the rainwater. Countless old antiques were shocked. When they looked up at the sky, their bodies trembled as they muttered to themselves, This is the heavenly rain that illuminates the world. The saint wheel appears, heaven and earth changes. The heavenly rain descends, the Saint King appears. At this moment, all the hidden sects and rank 9 forces in the Saint Monarch region were shocked and horrified. Saint Kings appeared, and there were 2 of them. Chapter 1602. Holy Monarch Region, Holy Ocean. Huge waves rolled in the blue ocean. This was no ordinary ocean. Clouds rose from the surface of the ocean, shining brightly and surging with renewed vitality. A pair of sacred eyes with infinite power opened in the ocean, staring in a certain direction as he muttered to himself. There are new kings, and there are two of them. Are they friends or foes? Holy Monarch Region, Divine Sword Sect. 3 elders with ancient swords on their backs sat on the top of the tower. When they opened their eyes, it was as if the world was tilting. Their sharp and murderous sword intent seemed to pierce through thousands of planes and the eastern region of the Holy Monarch Region. The kings of the saints have descended. There are 2 new kings in the sacred boundary, and they are now at the location of the battle. They are not from the Divine Flame Palace. Although the Palace Master is only a half-step Saint King, he is still some distance away from the Saint King realm. Then who are they? There are only 4 or 5 people who can become kings in the Holy Monarch Region now, and they have yet to be crowned kings. Sword Intent and Saber Intent. 2 kings of the Sword Dao and the Saber Dao. The 3 elders looked at each other, and their expressions were filled with shock. The Sword Dao and the Saber Dao were like fire and water, but 2 kings of the Sword Dao and the Saber Dao had appeared at the same time. What a pure sword intent, what a domineering saber intent! These 2 people are even closer to the divine realm than we are. If it were not for the restraint of the world's providence, I'm afraid they would have already reached the divine realm and reached the Saint King realm. At this moment, all sides were shaken and the crowd was horrified. With the birth of 2 kings, a new king was about to appear in the sacred boundary, ruling over a region and commanding the heroes. The giant wheel of holy light that was spinning like a wheel was suspended in the sky of the eastern region of the Holy Monarch Region. Right above the wheel, a saber and a heavenly sword were suspended. They symbolized their master's intent. The saber could cut the sun, moon, and stars, while the sword could destroy the world. All the experts looked up at the sky in disbelief. Even the Wuji elder was in disbelief. The birth of a Saint King was a rare occurrence. Not to mention, the birth of 2 kings at the same time was unprecedented in the history of the sacred boundary. Ji Wuchen, Zi Qianshou, and the others were ecstatic. Shangguan Wudi and Qi Fian smiled. Did we let them break through first? 2 terrifying monsters. At this moment, Wu Weiyang's heavenly hell halberd was blocked in midair. The person standing in front of him was Fong Ling. He wore a black robe and he seemed confident and piercingly cold. His entire body surged with dazzling divine radiance, and the sword insight between his brows seemed as if it intended to pierce through the sky. He blocked Wu Weiyang's halberd with his sword, and a giant wheel of holy light floated above his head. The 100th saint point between his eyebrows was completely opened. Lan Jingyu was also facing a similar situation. With a saber in his hand, Lang Fanyun's domineering aura soared as he looked down on the world. His gaze swept across and was extremely domineering. With one slash, he blocked the venerable guardian, Lan Jingyu, in the air. Lang Fanyun said coldly, "Guardian of the Divine Flame Palace, from now on, your only opponent is me." Fong Ling smiled coldly. "The Wu clan Sage King wants to touch my lord. Aren't you being a little too arrogant?" The various experts either sucked in a breath of cold air or cheered. He was so excited that he found it hard to extricate himself. Even Lin Chun couldn't help but shout excitedly, "I say, the 2 of you are too handsome. You can even break through like this." The experts from the Divine Flame Palace and the Holy Prison had especially ugly expressions. Even the Clear Sky Sage King, son of Heavenine, and the others who had just stepped into the godless river had their previously confident expressions turn gloomy. 2 Sage Kings had appeared. On Lin Chen's side, the battle prowess of 2 Saint Kings had suddenly increased. The battle power of a Sage King was as light as a feather. If it was a half-step king, He could only delay a Sage King at most, and he could still use the number of Ninth Revolution Saints to suppress him. However, it was completely different after advancing to the Sage King realm. Especially the Sword Sage King and the Saber Sage King. If one wanted to take them down, they would have to pay a bloody price. It was impossible to take them down without sacrificing an equivalent number of Sage Kings. Delaying a Sage King and equalizing a Sage King were two different concepts. Shangguanju was overjoyed. What kind of monsters did this little guy find? Breaking through to the Sage King realm on the spot, and the situation is completely different. Ing Chuanxiu's face was ashen. As expected of people appreciated by the creators. The potential of these two guys is really at the peak of the Sage realm. Jinchan's calm gaze revealed a different kind of shock as he muttered, "It's going to be difficult to end this." Suddenly, Fong Ling yelled, "Jiang Wan Yun Tianguang, go and protect the Lord. Leave this old thing to me." Wu Weiyang's face was ashen. "You're just an early-stage Sage King, and you don't even have a decent Sage artifact. How dare you look down on me?" Fong Ling laughed. "Ah, who dares to say that I'm invincible when I fight Tiange with my sword? So what if you're an early-stage Sage King? I alone am enough to deal with you." Arrogant! Kaboom! Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun instantly erupted. Saber light and sword shadows surged, and the wind and clouds surged. Bang! 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 Amidst the roaring rain, the two of them released the radiance of Sage Kings without restraint. The four Sage Kings formed a brand new battle circle, and their battle was earth-shattering. Yu Wangxing stared at the two of them, his eyes flashing with hope and reminiscence. 3 months ago, Ice Heart Palace. What, the two of you want to try that pill? Are you crazy? Yu Wangxing, who was in the secret chamber, looked at Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun in shock. Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun looked at each other, their expressions solemn. "Yes, we've already prepared the ingredients to refine the pill." Yu Wangxing rejected them sternly. "No. I've said before that although the 9-year Saint King pill is a half-ninth grade pill that can stimulate the vitality of a sage into potential, it has a huge flaw. Let's not talk about the difficulty of refining it for now. Once the pill's efficacy is stimulated, the person who consumes it will have to endure excruciating pain. It will continuously drain the vitality of the sage heart and the potential of the sage acupoints, all of which will be concentrated at the 100th sage acupoint. If the 100th sage acupoint is not opened within 92 hours, the two of you will definitely die. You should know very well how difficult it is to break through to Sage King in such a short time. Consuming this pill is equivalent to committing suicide. I can't let the two of you mess around. Wang Xing." Lang Fanyun shouted coldly. Yu Wangxing was stunned. Lang Fanyun's cold and resolute face faintly revealed the determination to live through death. He said coldly, "Yu Wangxing, do you really think that we can escape unscathed after challenging Divine Flame Palace?" Yu Wangxing was speechless. Lang Fanyun said sternly, "Indeed, the Master is very powerful. I even feel that he's stronger than any of us. However, challenging Divine Flame Palace, a 9th-grade sect, will create many uncertainties." Fong Ling smiled freely. "If we don't even have the courage to gamble with our lives, we wouldn't have come this far. Sir Yu Wangxing, if anything happens, both of our lives will be the stakes. If we don't become Sage Kings, we'll become skeletons. No matter if we win or lose, both of our lives will be used to forge a path forward or a bridge backward for everyone, for the Master." Yu Wangxing looked at the two's calm and determined gazes and sighed. He took their Providence plant pouches and scanned them with his spiritual will. "I can't guarantee that these 5 sets of ingredients will be successfully refined, but I'll do my best." The two of them smiled knowingly, which was rare. "Then we'll leave it to you, our alchemist." The scene of the memories entered his mind. Yu Wangxing looked at the two of them again, and sighed emotionally. "The hearts of the two of you are really strong. Enduring such great pain when activating the efficacy of the pill, you can still stop a Sage King and successfully break through to King Realm. I really admire the two of you from the bottom of my heart. Chapter 1603. Lin Chun, what a good guy. Saber Sword Two Kings, we have to think twice if we want to touch this brat. Ing Chuanxiu, Shangguan Wudi, and Qi Fian were fighting, and their faces were filled with murderous intent. Two half-step holy kings could delay one holy king, but they could only delay the battle. They would definitely lose if the battle dragged on. If two half-step holy kings fought against two holy kings, they would definitely lose, and they might even be killed on the spot. To completely kill two half-step holy kings, only two holy kings were needed. But to completely kill two holy kings, who were infinitely close to the realm of gods, even if there were 4 holy kings, they would still have to pay the price. On the high ground of Godless River, Ultimate Shadow laughed and said, "Things seem to have become more troublesome." Een Son of Heaven nodded and said, "Indeed, it is difficult to kill them all, even if there are many experts here." Hao Tian Holy King said coldly, "What we need to do is still the same." Holy kings were supreme existences that shone with the sun and the moon. In the history of the sacred boundary, there were only a few recorded cases of holy kings falling in a war between different races. It was simply too difficult to kill a Saint Realm king. Just like Hao Tian Holy King in the past, 2 human holy kings and a group of 9 revolution saints took turns to suppress him before he fell in the sacred burial mountain. But even so, the Clear Sky Saint King was still alive like a centipede that had died but did not fall down. It could be seen how difficult it was to kill a holy king. It was far more difficult than killing a holy genius on the holy talent ranking. Protect the Lord. These guys are about to cross Godless River. Yun Tianguang shouted coldly. Jiang Wan and Long Jiushan quickly stood beside Lin Chen. Even if they were seriously injured, and there was a great disparity in strength between the two sides, they did not waver. Lin Chen patted Jiang Wan's shoulder and said with a smile when he saw that the servants were ready to face death, "Don't look like we are about to die. Calm down, don't you have me?" Jiang Wan stared at the Lord's handsome face. She was slightly stunned and puzzled. Lin Chen exhaled, and a sharp light flashed across his eyes. "Although we didn't manage to wait for the best time to activate it, if we let Chong Sheng and Ling Er face another Clear Sky Saint King, their lives will be in danger. Let's use the war god set to fight." Rumble! The boundless dark shadow tide spread all the way from the high altitude of the No-God River. It was as if it was swallowing the sky and the earth. It was a part of Ultimate Shadow's main body. They had crossed the Godless River. Some of the experts who were in the midst of a bitter battle turned around in shock. There was actually the aura of the Devil Clan in that endless wave of shadows? The demons are here too. The rumors are true. F***CK. This bastard is indeed colluding with the demon race. No wonder he could revive after dying like that. The experts from Divine Flame Palace, Holy Prison, and Wu family were already aware of this, but they remained indifferent. If they could interfere with the top experts around Lin Chen, so what if they were from the demon race? Xiao Ling Long Jiushan, and the rest of the servants were instantly on guard, protecting Lin Chen. Lin Chen's holy dragon was still shuttling back and forth between the battlefield, crazily collecting attribute light balls. Lin Chen's body had already begun to circulate with a faint golden divine radiance, as if he was possessed by a divine might. The might of the war god looked down upon all the worlds. I didn't expect to be able to make it in time for this feast. I love killing humans the most. After I take down this brat, I'll catch a few humans to eat. Fishing in troubled waters, I like it. Ha! The humans here are all top-notch experts. If we eat them, we can improve our cultivation by another level. This trip is not in vain. The 7 demon reverends transformed into their human forms and laughed evilly. Their method of disguising as humans was extremely brilliant, and their strength was second only to the heavenly demon reverends. They were the strongest existences among the demon reverends. They were comparable to the peak of the Ninth Revolution Saint. Ultimate Shadow's body began to distort, and he finally turned back into a pale-faced youth who looked incomparably weak. He grinned sinisterly. "That shadow didn't come? Then I'll start with you first." Clear Sky Sage King sneered. "With just the people around you, you can't stop us." Rumble. At this moment, Ultimate Shadow, Clear Sky Sage King, and the 7 strongest demon reverends moved at almost the same time. Long Jushan and the other 6 instantly burst out with their sacred auras and stood beside Lin Chen, protecting him with all their might. Meanwhile, Son of Heaven Yin's eyes were fixed on Lin Chen as if he was observing and trying to see through his trump card. After meeting Lin Chen several times, Son of Heaven Yin no longer had any contempt for this bold yet meticulous youth who defied the heavens. Daring to look down on this lunatic who broke through the holy prison had to pay the price. Facing Clear Sky Sage King and Ultimate Shadow, you have to use all your trump cards no matter how many trump cards you have. It's indeed a little difficult to destroy your team, but it's more than enough to deal with you alone. Just as Son of Heaven Yin was anticipating what killing move Lin Chen would use, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Boundless darkness suddenly shrouded the outside of the godless river, and the 8 top experts lost their sense of direction at the same time, drowning in the boundless darkness. All the experts were stunned. Even Lin Chen, who was preparing to use the 4-piece God of War set, couldn't help but pause for a moment. How strange. That mass of dark matter is actually a little similar to the Dark Shadow tribe's main body. It's the aura of the Dark Shadow. Lin Chen was puzzled. This thing seemed to have completely affected the order of space. Damn it, could this be? Ultimate Shadow cursed as he tore the darkness apart. He pushed his big hand horizontally and forcefully pulled the darkness away, his expression uncertain. "How dare you touch my big brother? Who do you think you are?" "Ninth Elder, kill it!" A young and childish voice snorted coldly. After Lin Chen heard it, he was first stunned, then ecstasy appeared on his face. This voice, could it be? Whoosh. The terrifying darkness shrouded the entire world. The eastern sky of the Sage Monarch domain had completely fallen into boundless darkness at this time. The darkness was as dark as ink, shrouding the entire vacuum in endless darkness. The area shrouded in darkness seemed to be unable to be penetrated by even the perception of saint power. It was as if they were trapped in a quagmire. 10 extremely powerful auras suddenly descended on heaven and earth. All the Saint King experts in the center of the battlefield changed their expressions slightly. Even they hadn't sensed the arrival of these auras. The Wuji old man stroked his beard with great interest. "I didn't expect that even they would come out of seclusion. This tribe has not cared about the affairs of the other races since the Great War back then. I didn't expect that they would send so many experts here today." The old antiques who were about to retreat were even more shocked. Damn it again. Just because of one Lin Chen, so many experts had come. The impact of this battle could be said to be the largest in millions of years. 10 figures slowly walked out of the boundless darkness. When they transformed into human form, 9 of them only had their upper bodies, and the lower bodies were in the form of a dark smoke-like state. The 10th person was a handsome and dignified young man with a childish air. His appearance was actually 70% similar to Lin Chen. Lin Chen's face was filled with ecstasy. Little Shadow? Why is this little guy here? Chapter 1604. Little Dark Shadow grinned. My mind is connected to Big Brother's, so of course I can sense Big Brother's situation. There is no place in the Divine River Galaxy that the Dark Shadow race can't go. Little Dark Shadow's smile was filled with absolute confidence. That's right, when the Dark Shadow race was at their peak, There was no space in the Divine River Galaxy that they couldn't go to. The Dark Shadow Race's strength wasn't their strength, but their innate talent for space. They were born in the void and died in the darkness. They could come and go freely in the universe, and the wondrous planes and blessed paradises that countless beings yearned for were within their reach. This was the Dark Shadow Race's greatest advantage. Kid, what's with your attitude? Do you know how to show some respect to our future King of Shadows? A Dark Shadow Race expert puffed out his chest. His upper body was that of a human, and he scolded seriously and coldly. Lin Chen's mouth opened slightly. The future King of Shadows? Oh my God, what had this little guy been doing in the Dark Shadow Race all these years? He had become the future King of Shadows just like that? Lin Chen knew very well what the title of King of Shadows meant. He was the supreme existence that commanded the Dark Shadow Race. There would only be one king in every generation of the Dark Shadow Race. Moreover, the Dark Shadow Race was the richest existence in the universe. It was very simple. The treasure spaces, wondrous planes, and the most dangerous places that every race dreamed of entering or exploring were easily accessible to the innate dark shadows of the Dark Shadow Race. This was also the reason why the Dark Shadow Race attracted so many wars. Their abilities and talents were too threatening and tempting. Clang! Before Lin Chen could say anything, Lil Shadow gave the elder a punch and said with a serious face, "What are you talking about? This is my big brother Lin Chen. If it wasn't for him, I would still be an egg. You should be the ones who should show some respect." Little Dark Shadow scolded. Head up, chest out, salute. The 9 experts of the Dark Shadow Race immediately straightened their postures, straightened their backs and shouted respectfully just like the human race. "Hello, Big Brother. Thank you for your hard work, Big Brother. Big Brother Lin Chen is the best in the world." Little Dark Shadow nodded in great satisfaction. He turned to Lin Chen and said with a smile, "Big Brother, what do you think?" Lin Chen exclaimed in admiration and silently gave him a thumbs up. As expected of someone who hangs out with me. His methods are really wild. This scene caused the mouths of countless experts to twitch violently. Even the previously arrogant and domineering demons couldn't help but show deep fear. The future Dark Shadow King of the Dark Shadow Race. F***ck, just what kind of background does this Lin Chen have? All the kings of the Dark Shadow Race were his underlings? Shangguan Wudi, who was engaged in a bitter battle with Ying Chuanqiu, suddenly burst into laughter. Not only that, but even more servants smiled knowingly. Master is really strong, even the innate Shadow King has become his underling. That's awesome. Doesn't that mean that half of the Dark Shadow Race's territory belongs to our Lord now? Our Lord is truly unprecedented. Ah! What kind of vision did the servants have? He saw through the current situation with a single glance. As for the experts from the Divine Flame Palace, Holy Prison, and Wu family, their expressions were especially ugly. It could be said that the appearance of the Dark Shadow Race had decided the direction of this battle. As long as they wanted to bring Lin Chen away, they could act at any time. Little Dark Shadow patted his chest. Hee, Big Brother, I have a human name now, I am called Lin Can. Not only will I become the Dark Shadow King, I will also become the light of recovery for the Dark Shadow Race. I want to be as famous as Big Brother, my name will shake the world. Lin Chen patted his shoulder and laughed. Ha ha ha, you are ambitious, you did not embarrass me. One of the most senior elders of the Dark Shadow Race looked at the ultimate dark shadow in the void and suddenly laughed. It's you. Lin Can looked at the elder in confusion. The elder continued. Back then, this guy was discovered by the will of the previous Dark Shadow King. Only a few Dark Shadows in the race know about this. He did not pass the test of the previous Dark Shadow King's will. After that, this guy did not listen to our advice. Not only did he refuse to take the test step by step, he even snuck into our race and tried to steal the previous Dark Shadow King's treasury and inheritance. In the words of the human race, it's time for us to clean up our house. Little dark shadow Lin Can and Lin Chen suddenly understood. Then, Lin Can pointed at the pale-faced clear sky Saint King in the void and sneered. Since that is the case, elders, beat him up. As for the remaining shadow, leave it to this king to deal with. Yes, sir. Whoosh. When the experts of the dark shadow race moved, the ultimate dark shadow's expression changed slightly, and he quickly retreated through the void. Waves of terrifying dark shadows covered the sky and enveloped the clear sky Saint King in an instant. The clear sky Saint King's expression was gloomy, and he sent out a few palm strikes. The wind from his palm strikes pierced through the stars and broke the moon, whistling through the universe, trying to tear apart the boundless darkness. However, after its power was devoured again and again, he could not help but curse, damn it, get out of my way! I am looking for Lin Chen." The 7 demon lords were surrounded by the darkness and could not break out. They were flustered and exasperated. The elders of the Dark Shadow race laughed casually. "The big brother of our future Dark Shadow King is not someone you can touch? It has been a long time since I fought with a Saint King. I wonder what abilities the current human Saint Kings have. You are someone who colludes with a demon venerable. I'm sure the humans will also despise you, ha ha." The 9 experts of the Dark Shadow race surrounded Clear Sky Saint King and the 7 demon venerables and started fighting. Fortunately, they were not fighting in Divine Flame Palace's territory, otherwise, even more sages would have died. After Long Jiushan consumed 2 divine pills, he said to his servants, "Let's go too, we cannot let those people get close to Lord." Wu clan still had close to 70 sages. They were all rank 7 and above expert. Even though most of the enemies were injured, they were not much better off. Each of them had to suppress at least 10 people. Outside Divine River, 3 huge battlefields were formed, forming a triangle formation. On the left and right were Gui Jianchou, Long Jiushan and the rest, blocking Wu clan's experts. In front was Clear Sky Saint King and the demon venerables fighting against the experts of the Dark Shadow race. In the void, 4 pairs of eyes suddenly met each other across the distance. They were the gazes of Lin Chen and Yin Son of Heaven. Yin Son of Heaven suddenly smiled. "Lin Chen, I have to say, your luck is very good." Lin Chen shrugged. The golden light of the god of war around him suddenly dissipated. He smiled and said, "Luck is also a part of strength, isn't it? Otherwise, why didn't you use your luck to kill me?" Yin Son of Heaven laughed heartily. "Good, very good. Lin Chen, you are not the strongest enemy I, Yin Son of Heaven, have met, but you are the most difficult to deal with. If I can't kill you this time, I will naturally stop." Rumble. Dazzling multicolored light soared into the sky. It was as if countless stars had descended, hanging in the sky. Lin Chen's expression instantly turned serious. Yin Son of Heaven's saint body had fused with tens of thousands of odd crystals, and each of them was not lower than middle grade. When Ultimate Shadow and Little Shadow's gazes met, it was even more intense, killing intent soared to the sky. Lin Chen against Yin Son of Heaven. The 14th stage Ultimate Shadow against the 15th stage Ultimate Shadow, the future King of Shadows. This fated battle had reached its final moment. Chapter 1605. What a ruthless person. It seems that his cultivation method is related to the fusion of odd crystals. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. "It seems that I can't use the War God set first." The Yin Son of Heaven was obviously stronger, but Lin Chen actually chose not to use the War God set? Odd crystals were basically not a decisive trump card in the domain of top expert. In addition, high-grade odd crystals were rare, and very few experts were able to use them to obtain power far beyond the same level in the later stages of cultivation. But when the number reached a certain level, it would cause a qualitative change. The Yin Son of Heaven was the latter. Furthermore, Lin Chen couldn't see how many high-grade odd crystals he had. Lin Chen and Little Shadow looked at each other and had a tacit understanding. Little Shadow immediately possessed Lin Chen's body. Boom! A pair of dark wings unfolded behind Lin Chen. It had the blood of the dragon race, the pressure and evil aura of the demon race, and the unique ability of the dark shadow race to assimilate space. Chi. Above the black wings, a giant dragon condensed from darkness appeared. It was Little Shadow's main body. Lin Chen suddenly said, "We brothers haven't fought together in a long time." Little Shadow roared and laughed. "Then let's fight to our heart's content this time." Chi. Lin Chen held the spear with one hand, and the tip of the spear was surrounded by lightning. Lin Chen took a step forward. Combined with Little Dark Shadow's innate gift, he activated his movement technique. Like a 10,000 zhang tall blood shadow, he charged through the numerous battlefields. Want to launch a sneak attack? Don't you know who you're facing? Today, this lord will devour you, defective product. The youth formed by Ultimate Shadow stretched out a demonic palm and attacked Lin Chen head-on. Little Shadow raised his claws and tore through the layers of darkness, colliding head-on with Ultimate Shadow's demonic palm. Boom! A layer of darkness rose into the sky, and Ultimate Shadow took 4 steps back with shock in his eyes. Both sides were actually evenly matched? Ultimate Shadow's heart was in turmoil. Those old things' inheritance is so strong? He was still an ant in front of this lord last time, and now he has grown to this extent? Impossible. I can't be surpassed by this defective product. I am the strongest shadow. The ultimate dark shadow became even crazier. With a wave of his palm, a sky full of dark shadows poured down like sharp arrows. Little Dark Shadow slashed horizontally with his claws, crushing all of them. Both sides were really going all out. With Little Shadow's help and protection, Lin Chen's movement technique could be said to have arrived in front of Son of Heaven in an instant. Having not worked together for many years, Lin Chen and Little Shadow still had a tacit understanding of each other. Lin Chen didn't feel any discomfort with this kind of explosive speed. It was as if it had long been a part of him. Lin Chen swept his spear across the sky and executed heavy dark lightning. Lightning that could destroy the world pierced through the void like a lightning dragon and attacked Son of Heaven from different directions. Bang! Son of Heaven gripped Lin Chen's devil-slaying spear with both hands and sneered in return. Lin Chen, your strength might have temporarily increased by a large margin, but your killing move shouldn't be limited to this, right? Rumble. As soon as the voice was transmitted, Son of Heaven threw an angry punch at Lin Chen, breaking through 1,000 layers of planes. Lin Chen was crushed by the punch, and it was a bloody afterimage. Chi. A millstone-like, ink-colored tornado wreaked havoc in the sky in an instant. Son of Heaven stepped on the ink-colored tornado as holy light lingered around him. He instantly caught up to Lin Chen, who had retreated 80,000 miles away, and locked onto him as if he was tracking him. Lin Chen was surprised. This guy's movement technique might not be advanced orange rank, but with the support of a large number of wind attribute odd crystals, his speed was godly. Even if you fused with Dark Shadow and advanced orange rank movement technique, it's still useless to me, because I've always been stronger than you. Son of Heaven pointed with both hands, and Aurora shot out. Every hair-thin finger ray forcefully destroyed the vacuum enveloped by Dark Shadow. It was extremely terrifying. This was practically the strongest attack below the Holy King level. 10,000 caddies extermination. Lin Chen swung his spear and stabbed thousands of times. Endless lightning was like a peacock spreading its tail, pushing forward layer by layer. With instant light split shadow, it split into 5 and enveloped the sky. It actually collided head-on with Son of Heaven. Bang! 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 The lightning exploded, and the electric arcs swam like dragons and snake. Lin Chen was forced back dozens of steps, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The gap between half-step Holy Kings was like a huge chasm that could be seen at a glance. The current Lin Chen wasn't a match for a half-step holy king even if he entered the God-Slayer state. A majestic phantom that covered the stars and moon suddenly appeared in the sky like a galaxy spanning across the sky. It suddenly burst forth with a hurricane-like primordial spirit attack that transformed into 8 blazing dragons dancing wildly and crushing everything in its path. Primordial spirit attack? Son of Heaven Een was shocked and immediately sneered. You're not the only one with primordial spirit attack. God breaking all. Son of Heaven Yin's glabella flickered with primordial spirit brilliance. Dozens of primordial spirit brilliance shot out and pierced through Lin Chen's blazing dragons. A spiritual type odd crystal? Lin Chen was even more shocked. He actually had an odd crystal that was even rarer than the Qi and blood type, and he had a lot of them. Lin Chen's spear art and primordial spirit attack were broken, and Son of Heaven Een was about to crush him head-on. A sky-covering dragon claw suddenly broke through the darkness above his head and crushed down. Son of Heaven Yin's expression changed slightly, and he gave up on Lin Chen. He turned around and slammed his palm into the sky. Bang! Bang! When the dark dragon claw clashed with Son of Heaven Yin's palm wind, Lin Chen waved his palm, and 3 peerless flying knives appeared out of thin air. They condensed his primordial spirit and cultivation to attack with all his might. Chi! Boom! 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 Son of Heaven Een was caught off guard, and he relied on the sacred artifact defense, Ling Tian Mirror, to transform into a mirror to block Lin Chen's flying knives. In the void, Little Shadow and Ultimate Shadow were locked in a fierce battle. Son of Heaven Yin's expression gradually turned solemn. Little Shadow and Lin Chen's cooperation could be said to be flawless. Even when he was fighting Ultimate Shadow, he could split his attention to assist Lin Chen. Although he and Ultimate Shadow were working together, they were fighting separately. Lin Chen and Little Shadow were like one, and they were partners whose hearts were connected. They were so tacit that they could leave their backs to each other to protect. I don't believe that I can't take down a life and death realm like you. Son of Heaven Een was enraged, and he used his movement technique to activate a large number of wind-type odd crystals. His figure moved like stars as he attacked Lin Chen. Lin Chen laughed mockingly. Sorry, you really can't take me down. The two of them used their movement techniques and clashed head-on again. The battle between the two became more and more intense, and it became the most terrifying battle below the Saint King realm. All the Saint Kings couldn't help but look sideways as they saw an incredible scene. Lin Chen and Little Shadow's battle was covering each other and fusing into one. Both sides would occasionally exchange opponents and work together to perfectly fuse their battle techniques with the Dark Shadow race's divine abilities. The degree of tacit understanding in battle made countless experts look sideways. The potential of Lin Chen and Little Shadow was unimaginable. Only Old Man Wuji seemed to have seen an even more distant future. It was as if he saw 2 future kings fighting together seamlessly. Their cooperation was natural and smooth, and they were perfect as one. Son of Heaven Een, the disciple of the ancient god, the most amazing person in the history of the monster rankings, but he killed his master and defied the heavens. Lin Chen was fated to be with the ancient god, and he passed down the odd crystal inheritance. He was the last hope of the ancient god. The 14th stage Ultimate Shadow was a combination of the bloodlines of the 3 races and was created by Tuo Xing. It killed Tuo Xing and seized his body, existing to devour the last shadow and eliminate the last threat. The 15th stage Shadow of the Final Umbra had been created by Tuo Xing to suppress the 14th stage Shadow of the Final Umbra. Both sides wanted to kill each other at this moment, and no one planned to retreat. This final battle would lead to destruction. Chapter 1606. 2 days before Een Son of Heaven and Clear Sky Holy King arrived at the Sage Monarch Domain. Mysterious Domain, Ice Heart Palace's territory. A group of saints appeared, led by Tai Xiaocheng of Holy Prison. It was a group of Saint Heart and Heaven Opening Realm experts from Holy Prison. There were also a few second-stage professionals. This is where the criminals are hiding? Haha, don't act rashly. It might be a trap. Let's destroy this place first. Holy Prison's experts found Lin Chen's base and attacked directly. A giant palm descended from the sky, intending to destroy Ice Heart Palace. Rumble. Just when all the Holy Prison's experts thought it was over and wanted to go into search. Smoke billowed and spread out, but Ice Heart Palace's territory was undamaged. All the Holy Prison's experts were stunned. Impossible. Even a peak heaven-opening realm expert couldn't take that palm head-on. In addition, Mysterious Domain's space barrier wasn't as strong as the Sage Monarch Domain's, so it was more than enough to flatten everything within 100,000 miles. How could it not destroy a palace? No, there seems to be someone. As Tai Xiaocheng exclaimed, there was actually a petite figure right above the palace. The cute person had a delicate face, shallow dimples, and white canine teeth. She stared at the Holy Prison's experts as if she had found a new toy. Tai Xiaocheng's hair stood on end. Something was wrong. They seemed to have provoked someone they shouldn't have. Outside Godless River, after being unable to take down Lin Chen for a long time, Yin Son of Heaven's state of mind underwent a subtle change. What the hell are you scheming, Lin Chen? You should be very clear about my battle prowess. Just based on your current strength, you can't even break through my defense. Another palm strike pushed Lin Chen back, and little shadow covered him from the side. Lin Chen rushed up again without stopping. Yin Son of Heaven looked around and saw that all the experts were tied down. The Dark Shadow Tribe was still focused on dealing with Clear Sky Holy King. The experts in Lin Chen's team were also in a stalemate, so they couldn't help Lin Chen at all. If that was the case, why was he still holding on? Could it be that he's counting on other experts to rush out of the battle to support him? But the experts who can threaten me should be tied down by the Saint King. What does Lin Chen have to continue fighting me? Yin Son of Heaven's eyes were filled with doubt. Heaven's of Heaven's palace was heavens of Heaven's palace was heavens of heaven. Son of Heaven Yin's ambition was extremely huge, and his intelligence was also extremely high. For him to be able to give up the chance to charge into the talent's saint ranking when he was at the peak of his success, it was enough to see his ambition and tenacity. Otherwise, the ancient god wouldn't have taken a fancy to the Yuan Son of Heaven and chosen him as the last person to inherit his mantle. In a battle between strong practitioners, be it the aura or moves, they could all be faked, but the state of mind couldn't be faked. Son of Heaven Yin possessed the eye of extreme Yin and could see through the innate talent of strong practitioners. However, Yin Son of Heaven couldn't see through what Lin Chen was planning. Looking at the current situation, Lin Chen had no chance of winning against Yin Son of Heaven and Ultimate Shadow. His fighting spirit was rising higher and higher. Lin Chen couldn't take him down after a long battle. He had been maintaining the circulation of ambulite flowing light, increasing the power of his technique by several times and also recovering his injuries at an efficient rate. This allowed Lin Chen to obtain a powerful recovery ability similar to that of a Sacred Heart. A wisp of blood chi suddenly surged out from the Yin Son of Heaven's palm and rose into the sky. When he grabbed the blood pillar, it transformed into a blood-colored long scythe with a blood dragon coiling around it. His chi and blood were like a blazing sun that was blazing and violent. It was also a 9th-grade sacred artifact. No matter what killing move or trump card this brat has, let's get rid of him first. Things might change if we delay. Use absolute power to crush him. Yin Son of Heaven didn't underestimate Lin Chen. The moment the blood scythe appeared, he waved it and slashed repeatedly. He was actually also executing a high-grade orange technique. The crescent-shaped flowing light scattered blades swept over, and Little Shadow wanted to provide support. However, Ultimate shadow blocked him in an instant, and tangled little shadows attacks tightly. Bang! 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 Lin Chen waved his spear to meet the enemy head-on, and he was crushed all the way. He retreated rapidly, and the injuries on his body instantly worsened by 30%. The increase in power brought by a 9th-grade sacred artifact was too strong. Lin Chen's cultivation couldn't be compared to Yin's Son of Heaven, and the moment the sacred artifact appeared, the difference between the two was obvious. It was especially difficult for Lin Chen to even block him. Yin's Son of Heaven's aura was like a rainbow as he waved his blood scythe crazily. The sharp slashes that were like snow slashed at Lin Chen time and time again, but Lin Chen waved his spear and swept. He executed Taishi Divine Light once again and actually blocked Yin's Son of Heaven's attacks head-on. Clang! 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 The shadows of the spear were like a tide, and the light of the scythe collided. The two of them executed their movement techniques and fought fiercely without stopping. Rune of Slowing, 10,000 Star Banner, Lightning 3,000 Worlds, Blood Een Coiling Dragon, Extreme Tower Splitting Sky. Both sides fought until the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. The strong practitioners of Wu family who were fighting with Lin Chen earlier sucked in a cold breath. F***ck, is this Lin Chen really human? This Yin's Son of Heaven's foundation is so solid, and his cultivation is extremely strong. He is at least the strongest practitioner below the Saint King realm. If we really want to compare, only the 4 great half-step Saint Kings in Lin Chen's team can be a match for him. This brat is actually fighting the strongest practitioner below the Saint King realm head-on? How many more killer moves does he have? Before Yin's Son of Heaven could be happy after suppressing Lin Chen repeatedly, he realized that the corner of Lin Chen's mouth was rising crazily. His fighting spirit actually rose even higher. The corner of Yin's Son of Heaven's mouth twitched violently. F***ck. This brat is actually even more excited after I executed my killer move? What kind of monster is this? There was a loud bang. Lin Chen's absolute defense was broken, and the star-chasing heavenly morning robe was full of wounds and bloodstains. At this moment, the system's light screen popped up. System notification. Currently, all the essence attributes of the set have been collected and integrated into the 4-piece God of War set. The 4-piece set's average charge, 58% to 60%. When Lin Chen put away the demon-slaying spear, he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled coldly. I was waiting for you to use your trump card, Yin's Son of Heaven. Don't tell me that this is all you've got? Golden light bloomed out of nowhere, and a burst of God of War's aura that could shatter the heavens rose with Lin Chen as the center. Almost at the same time, a terrifying storm burst forth from the direction of Divine Flame Palace, and 2 figures charged out. It was Zi Qianqiu and Ji Wuchen. Someone from Divine Flame Palace's Elder Guild was injured and fell into this chaotic situation. It forced the other Divine Flame Palace's elders to act, and they had no time to care about these 2 people. Zi Qianqiu and Ji Wuchen actually heavily injured 2 Grand Supreme Elders and a Supreme Elder from the Elder Guild, and broke out of the encirclement. It's time to save the Lord. Don't bother about these old things from Divine Flame Palace. When Zi Qianqiu shouted coldly, the weather suddenly changed. Rumble. In the territory of Divine Flame Palace, a brilliant divine flame suddenly bloomed from the rear, like a pillar of light that supported the heavens and the earth. The brilliant divine flame had been passed down for eternity, and it was as tall as 1,000,000 feet, reaching straight to the 9 heavens. When the divine flame slowly dispersed, it actually transformed into a heavenly door. Creak! The giant door burning with divine flame slowly opened, and an ancient aura seeped out from the space behind the giant door. This scene caused the expressions of the Divine Flame Palace's palace master, those from the Hall of Guardians, and even Shangguanju to change drastically. Chapter 1607. The giant door of divine flames soared into the sky, and brilliant divine flames lit up the sky above the Xinyan Palace. The expressions of everyone in the Xinyan Palace were particularly interesting. There was shock, ecstasy, doubt, fear, and so on. Different gazes were focused on the giant door of divine flames. Bai Ruoyan, who was extremely far away, had just finished covering the retreat of all the disciples and true disciples, retrieving the treasures that the Xinyan Palace had accumulated over the years. When she saw the sign of divine flames descending, her heart trembled. That is the ancestral door of the Xinyan Palace. Even the battle between Saint Kings could not help but pause slightly. Lin Chen's eyes turned. His primordial spirit sensed a terrifyingly powerful aura that was about to be born. Under everyone's gazes, a figure slowly stepped out of the giant door of divine flames. The elegant young lady was dressed in a jade palace dress. She had beautiful eyebrows and smooth skin. She looked like a 17 or 18-year-old girl, but between her brows was the vicissitudes of life and sorrow. It was as if she was an old woman who had returned to the mortal world in the appearance of a young lady. She sighed faintly. "Why do you have to force the Xinyan Palace?" Her gaze turned to Zi Qianzhou and Ji Wuchen, and she suddenly flicked her sleeves. The two's expressions changed, and their hair stood on end. It was as if they were being stared at by ancient beasts, and a sense of danger surged into their hearts. 12 Tao palaces of purple star. 100 moon berries the sky. The galaxy of the 12 Tao palaces flashed continuously, and the 100 blood moons floated in the sky. A gust of sage power swept over like a hurricane, and suddenly shattered them. The two spat out blood and retreated. Zi Qianzhou and Ji Wuchen stood still, and their sage blood flowed. Their expressions were filled with anger, and they were about to explode. Countless experts' hearts skipped a beat. One move. With just one move, two supreme existences that were second only to half-step sage kings were defeated. The young lady in the jade dress was surprised, as expected of the people who dared to cause trouble in the Xinyan Palace. "You can still stand after taking this old woman's move. I have to say, you guys are really special among the 9 Revolution Saints. Elder, you are finally here. Chief Supreme, they are too much. It is this Lin Chen who destroyed the heavenly temple, killed the people of the Xinyan Palace, and even divine son Wu Pianju. You must seek justice for the Xinyan Palace." The supreme elders of the Elder Council all cried miserably. The girl in the jade-green dress said indifferently, "Of course I know. There's no need for you to say anything." After saying that, she turned her gaze and found Lin Chen. Facing her gaze, Lin Chen felt a piercing pain. This person seemed to know everything about Lin Chen. Acupoint expansion and acupoint condensation are rare in the world, and his state of mind is excellent. He is indeed a genius, the girl in the green dress said indifferently. However, this is still incomparable to the plan of the 100 saint geniuses. Stay here. Shangguan Zhu's beautiful eyes glinted with killing intent. Even this old man has come out of seclusion. The situation is going to be troublesome. The Rakshasa Holy King, Zhenchan, laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, the chief supreme elder of the Divine Flame Palace really lives up to his name. He's an old monster. Why? If the Divine Flame Palace doesn't make a statement, there won't be any end to this." The first Supreme Elder of the Divine Flame Palace. This person was actually the Divine Flame Palace's first seat Grand Elder. Her seniority was completely comparable to the past ancestors of the Divine Flame Palace. She was also the former Palace Master of the Divine Flame Palace. When the sacred boundary was created and the human race divided the major dimensions of the galaxies, the Divine Flame Palace had already been established. She was already a supreme expert at that time and was a founding member who had existed until now. I didn't expect that even this old monster would come out. The elders of the Dark Shadow tribe had solemn expressions. They used the Dark Shadow Tribe's unique message to inform all the other elders. Everyone, we have already lost this battle. Prepare to protect Little Can and his elder brother. We will retreat after saving them. Whoosh! At this moment, the Divine Flame Palace Master left the battlefield and stood in front of the girl in the green dress. Grand Supreme Elder, this matter arose because of Wu Pianju. Please reconsider. Wu Pianju is now dead. We don't only have one choice now. We can still choose him. Moreover, if Ruoyun can take control of the Divine Flame Palace, she will definitely be able to change the current situation of the Divine Flame Palace. The girl in the green dress shook her head. So you want to use this to force this old woman to cooperate with this kid? Yanran, Wu Pianju is dead. Is the talent Saint Lis dead? This old woman doesn't think that the Divine Flame Palace can change the current situation. I have seen Ruoyun before. She is very good, but she can't turn the tide. Only the talent Saint List can restore the glory of the Divine Flame Palace. I will only say this once. Yanran, back off. The girl in the green dress scolded coldly. The Divine Flame Palace Master gritted her teeth and activated the sacred flame. It spun into a sacred flame wheel, overflowing with a destructive aura, and slapped toward her. The girl in the green dress suddenly smiled. You have improved. This is the first time in your life that you dare to disobey this old woman's order. However, according to the rules, this old woman should take you down if you kill a fellow disciple. The Grand Supreme Elder flicked her finger, and the green flame turned into a fire dragon out of thin air. It soared into the sky and suddenly twisted toward the Divine Flame Palace Master. Traces of scorch appeared in the space in an instant. It silently destroyed all of the Divine Flame Palace Master's attacks and shattered her sacred flame wheel. The Divine Flame Palace Master spat out blood and retreated, her pretty face pale. Almost at the same time, the girl in the green dress swept across the void and appeared hundreds of thousands of miles away like a ghost. Be careful, my lord. Jiang Taishu transmitted his voice. He had calculated for too long and consumed too much energy, so he couldn't deduce that the Grand Supreme Elder of the Divine Flame Palace had appeared. At this moment, countless strong cultivators felt a chill in their hearts. The Divine Flame Palace Master was already a half-step Saint King. In terms of cultivation, she was closer to the Saint King than the Een Son of Heaven, but she couldn't even stop the Grand Supreme Elder. The Saint King realm was too far away for the strong cultivators present. Although they knew that there were differences in the Saint King realm, it was difficult to determine the strength of each Saint King present in a short time. Only the Divine Flame Palace's head Grand Elder displayed a suffocating strength. Shangguanju was about to move. Thousands of afterimages danced, and Zhenchan's figure blocked her. Get out of my way! Shangguanju hit Zhenchan with a furious palm. He didn't let her go. Even Fang Ling, Lang Fanyun, Shangguan Wudi, and Qi Fian wanted to help Lin Chen, but they were all blocked by Wu Weiyang, Ying Chuanqiu, and Lan Jingyu. The Een Son of Heaven was bewildered. The Grand Supreme Elder of the Divine Flame Palace? Little Shadow was worried, but he didn't dare to be distracted and give Ultimate Shadow a chance. He could only leave it to his big brother. Lin Chen exhaled, his eyes flashing with crazy fighting spirit. With his current strength, he probably couldn't even take 3 moves from this old woman. He could only use the War God set. You want to mess with me, Lin Chen? No matter what Grand Supreme Elder you are, you'll have to lose your skin. Boom! At this moment, Lin Chen stepped into the air and used Cloud Shadow Heavenly Light, rushing toward the Grand Supreme Elder of the Divine Flame Palace. Countless strong cultivators were shocked. F***CK, does this kid want to die? Although the girl in the green dress was slightly surprised, she still raised her hand and crushed Lin Chen mercilessly. Lin Chen's eyes flashed and his strength surged. War God set, open, old witch, you're not allowed to touch him. Lin Chen is under my protection. A delicate shout shook the wind and thunder, and a beautiful figure appeared. Her slender hand formed a small fist that tore through the void and hit the girl in the green dress across the air. Chi! Bang! A terrifying explosion suddenly rose from outside the Divine Flame Palace. When the petite and slender figure appeared, all the strong cultivators were dumbfounded. Where did this immortal come from? She actually took a hit from the Grand Supreme Elder of the Divine Flame Palace? Lin Chen's mouth was slightly open. This girl is here too? Chapter 1608. The little girl's dimples were delicate and pretty, and her robe was crimson. A faint purplish-black aura flowed around her delicate jade-like hands, making her look demonic and beautiful. Nizi crossed her arms in front of her chest, looking like an old woman. She stared at the girl in the green dress in front of her and snorted coldly. "What kind of little sugar figurine are you? How dare you touch the handsome guy under my protection? Tell me your name." Lin Chen's mouth opened slightly, and he said in surprise, "Why are you here?" Nizi smiled, showing her dimples. "I've come out of seclusion. Now I have perfect control over that thing. The previous generation's pain disaster also told me a lot of things. I don't need to rely on a large number of spiritual plants of providence anymore. I only need one high-grade spiritual plant of providence to move freely." As soon as she said that, many battles came to an abrupt end. The 9 Revolution Saint's face was filled with horror as if he had seen a ghost. Saint King powerhouses were unbelievable, especially the Saint Kings of the Holy Prison. When they saw Lin Ping An's fresh and moving appearance, their hearts trembled. This appearance couldn't be wrong. It was her. The most terrifying humanoid disaster in the sacred boundary. Even the Grand Elder of the Divine Flame Palace couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Pain disaster's spirit body? Such an existence was extremely rare even before the creation of the holy world of the human race. Every pain disaster was formed by gathering the aura of endless disasters and calamities. Once it erupted, even Saint Kings had to retreat. Now, they actually saw a pain disaster's spirit body? And it was a giant disaster with intelligence that could transform into a spirit body. This meant that her power could be controlled by herself, a level that no one could stop. Shangguanju saw Jinchan and Ing Chuanqiu's expressions and laughed. "Ha ha ha ha, I didn't expect you guys to have such expressions. I'm afraid the holy prison is about to go out of control. I've already said that this kid isn't someone you can handle now." Ing Chuanqiu was exasperated. This little bastard is really crazy. He really released the pain disaster. Zhenchan's expression was gloomy. Now that things have come to this, we can only see if the Yin Son of Heaven can take down Lin Chen. This kid isn't ordinary, and I know he still has trump cards. According to the letter he sent back then, we still have to cooperate. On the other side, Pingyan, I'll leave that Elder of the Divine Flame Palace to you. Is that okay? Lin Chen couldn't care less about what had happened to Lin Pingyan. In the face of a strong enemy, he could only rely on this girl. As long as she was still safe and sound, everything was fine. The head elder of the Divine Flame Palace was enough to influence the entire situation. He had to hold her back. Lin Ping and placed his hands on his soft waist and imitated Lin Chen. He put on the self-made sunglasses Lin Chen gave him and chuckled. "No problem, I can even use one hand, Grand Supreme Elder." Lin Chen smiled and said, "You've become more reliable." Lin Ping turned around with his back facing Lin Chen and smiled sweetly. "That's all thanks to you." The Divine Flame Chief Grand Elder raised her hand and looked at it. There was actually a little bit of purplish-black aura lingering on her delicate palm. It was like a maggot in her bones, entangling her saint power and not dispersing. This level of disaster aura is comparable to the peak state of the calamity of pain in the past. I have to be careful. She had been contaminated by the aura of disaster when she faced Lin Ping and head-on earlier. Lin Ping and was now as strong as the Yuan dynasty. The Grand Supreme Elder took a few steps back. Facing Lin Ping'an, her beautiful face was full of seriousness. Even someone as strong as her had to be ready for battle. At this moment, all the experts felt their hairs stand on end. Damn it, where did this Lin Chen come from? First, the children of the era in the holy prison bowed to him. Then, the experts of the Dark Shadow clan risked their lives to support him. He even attracted the calamity of pain in the form of a spirit. Especially the last group of old antiques who were watching the battle, they almost directly fled. What was there to watch? Whether the grand plan of the Saint Talent list succeeded or not, it had nothing to do with them. The old antiques and reclusive old monsters who were watching the battle from the sidelines were just betting on the victory of the Holy Prison and the Divine Flame Palace. If the Divine Flame Palace won, they still had a chance to join the 100 Saint Talents and become the first batch of people to start the new era. But now it was different. Even if the grand plan of the 100 Saint Talents was carried out as scheduled, they would have to face Lin Chen's team at that time. Not only did this team have 2 Saint Kings, but they also had the calamity of pain. This was a terrifying existence that could bring about a world-ending disaster. At that time, they would be the first batch of people to die, not the first batch of people to eat crabs. Everyone was a wily old fox who would not wake up early if there were no benefit. When they saw that the situation was not right, they would immediately go on the run. On Lin Chen's side, the morale of the Grade 8 forces and reclusive old monsters who came to join Lin Chen's servants soared in an instant. The name of the calamity of pain might not be known to the younger generations, but these old monsters were no stranger to it. It was equivalent to Lin Chen getting the strongest trump card. Leave her to me. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong with my body. There's nothing to worry about at all. Lin Ping'an knew that Lin Chen was worried about her body. She waved her hand and smiled sweetly. Lin Chen nodded. Don't force yourself. Blood light and clouds flashed like afterimages. When Lin Chen turned around, he faced Son of Heaven Yin and Ultimate Shadow again. Lin Chen and Little Shadow exchanged glances for an instant. He signaled Lin Chen not to worry and that Lin Chen should focus on dealing with Son of Heaven Yin. Lin Ping'an was a ruthless person who didn't say much. She clapped her palms together in the air. Calamity waves rolled over from all directions and slammed toward the girl in the green dress. The chief elder of Divine Flames turned around and moved gracefully. Every step she took burned with sacred flames, and with a flick of her finger, she opened the sky with a single finger. Flame incineration. Thousands of auspicious lights rushed into the sky like fire dragons, spinning into 3 tornadoes that collided with the calamity waves in the surroundings. The purplish-black calamity aura contained the aura of a calamity. The Grade 8 forces that had rushed over retreated again and again, sighing in amazement. This is the calamity of pain, she's still restraining her power. Once the calamity of pain erupts, the entire area will be barren and all life will be extinguished. The reason why she's restraining herself now must be because of the lords. Otherwise, the few of us wouldn't even have the chance to escape. The Grade 8 forces that had come to support looked at each other and seemed to have a tacit understanding. Don't act rashly. Let's observe the situation for now. Those fellows from the Holy Prison are also a little powerless. With the Dark Shadow race holding the fort, the experts on our side won't be much of a threat. Let's observe the situation first. Just as everyone was analyzing the situation, on the other side, Son of Heaven Yin and Ultimate Shadow stood together again. Lin Chen and Little Shadow seemed to have merged into one as they floated in the air. Son of Heaven Yin's sacred body shone brightly as all the sacred power and energy condensed in his palm. Endless divine light rose up and was as dazzling as the sun. Little Shadow transmitted his voice solemnly. Big brother, that is, Lin Chen nodded. It can't be wrong. A total of 70,000 mid-grade odd crystals, and a small portion of them are high-grade odd crystals. 70,000 odd crystals. It was simply an astronomical number. Even if they searched the entire sacred boundary, it would be difficult to gather so many mid-grade odd crystals in a short period of time. Lin Chen smiled faintly. Are they going to risk their lives? Just in time. Chapter 1609. Ji Wuchen floated in the air and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He stared at Yin Son of Heaven and said coldly, "A 9th-grade sacred artifact isn't enough, we still need 70,000 odd crystals. Even someone as strong as us won't be able to gather so many odd crystals in such a short time. It seems like Yin Son of Heaven is eager to fight to the death with the Lord. Do we need to help?" Zi Qianqiu raised his hand to stop him and shook his head. "If we go over now, it won't be of much use. Trust the Lord. Hand Yin Son of Heaven to the Lord. We'll go and get rid of those fellows from Divine Flame Palace." Gui Jianqiu and the rest's retreat has caused the other battlefields to be at a disadvantage. We can't let anything happen to everyone. The Lord's order is for everyone to end the battle alive. 1. At this moment, a mental transmission was transmitted to all the servants through the seal of life and death. It was Jiang Taishu's voice. "Everyone, please gather at the territory of Divine Flame Palace. Wu Shuang will use her last absolute art to give everyone new combat strength." This transmission caused the servants' faces to change slightly. "Senior Fei Wushuang, are we going to use that move?" "No, it's too dangerous. No, in this situation, there's no better opportunity than to use that absolute art." Jiang Taishu's transmission wasn't only to the servants, but also to the experts from the 8th grade forces who came as reinforcements. They all received the transmission. Almost at the same time, all the experts gathered in the direction of Divine Flame Palace. This sudden change made the experts from Holy Prison and Divine Flame Palace heave a sigh of relief. Suddenly, they felt that something was wrong. Something's wrong. Are they planning to retreat? Something's wrong. They're preparing some big killer move. We must stop them. When the people from Holy Prison and Wu family came back to their senses, the servants and experts had all gathered in the territory of Divine Flame Palace. Damn it, chase after them. Hundreds of thousands of feet high in the sky, a delicate and beautiful red dress fluttered like clouds and smoke. Her delicate and exquisite figure revealed a unique elegance. The beauty was extremely charming, like a mandala blooming in the desert. Her white hands danced gently, and when the petals fluttered in the wind, the sky instantly swept up a crimson rain of light. Heaven and earth fell into an endless darkness, leaving only the boundless crimson rain of light. Under the night sky, the aurora was like a beautiful starry sky. Fei Wushuang was like a fairy dancing. Her sleeves swayed gently as the light rain continued to fall, turning into a fairy under the night sky. Every drop of rain was like a star in the aurora, drifting down to the mortal world, saving and purifying all living beings. It was a beautiful scene, so beautiful that it was suffocating. Everyone was able to experience the peerless beauty that only belonged to the Scarlet Dual Absolute. Fei Qinyu was shocked as she muttered to herself, "Sister, you're actually going to fight to this extent. Only 9th Revolution saints could sense the horrifying power contained in the raindrops of Aurora. Hey. This can't be real, right? This is the legendary afterglow of the night of the sky, which only appeared once in the primordial age. In an instant it felt like 10,000 years had passed. At this moment, the light rain of the afterglow showered down, accurately bathing every expert in Lin Chen's team. Even Saint King Fong Ling, Lang Fanyun, and Lin Chen were no exception. When the aurora rain entered their bodies, everyone's saint bodies seemed to have been reborn, regaining endless vitality. Almost instantly, all their injuries were healed. At this moment, countless experts were shocked. They were healed. They were all healed. All the experts in Lin Chen's team, including the 8th rank sect experts, the hermit experts, and all the servants, from Saint Kings to Second Revolution saints and Lin Chen, all their injuries were healed in 1/10 of a breath. Ing Chuanxiu's pupils shrank. She really comprehended that divine technique. The servants who were heavily injured earlier were all healed. The amount of resources needed to treat a top-notch powerhouse was something that all the powerhouses knew for themselves. But now, Fei Wuxuang had reversed the situation and healed them with one move. This move could be said to be a reversal of the situation. A super reversal. In the previous battle, the accumulated injuries on both sides were not small. This was not an ordinary battle. Both sides wanted to kill the other and did not hold back at all. At this juncture, the recovery of all their injuries meant that the entire battle had changed. At this moment, all the experts knew why the Holy Prison insisted on suppressing and trying to subdue these prides of the era. They were simply too heaven-defying. Jiang Taishu's solemn expression did not change. With a look, Yu Wangxing immediately took action and rushed into the sky. Yu Wangxing stretched out his hand and caught the falling delicate body that was in a severe coma. It was Fei Wuxuang. Her face was completely drained of blood, and she had completely lost consciousness. What was even more frightening was that her Saint Cave's saint energy was completely depleted. She was no different from when she first left the holy prison. Yu Wangxing sighed in his heart. Do all of you have to fight to this extent? The afterglow of the midnight sky was a heaven-defying divine technique that Fei Wuxuang had mastered. The true power of this divine technique could resurrect a saint king or even a true god. However, the price to pay was one's life. Moreover, Fei Wuxuang did not have such a cultivation base now. What she used was an incomplete version of the afterglow of the midnight sky. Even so, to be able to use this kind of cultivation method was already a very terrifying level. Everyone, this old man is not outstanding in battle. I can only help you one by one. While Yu Wangxing protected Fei Wuxuang, he waved his hand and dozens of high-tier saint elixir pills appeared. With a flick of his finger, a beam of saint light pierced through all the saint elixir pills. Bang! 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 Elixir fusion, heaven and earth as one. Transform into saint elixir pills, return to one. As he chanted, the saint elixir pills shot out a dazzling glow and merged into the bodies of the experts in Lin Chen's team. Other than Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun, everyone's saint energy had recovered by about 20%. Although using the saint elixir pills like this would reduce the efficacy, it was the most efficient way to recover. After using this move, Yu Wangxing expended a third of his saint energy. He protected Fei Wuxuang and retreated at lightning speed. Don't let them escape. We must kill this woman. She's too much of a threat to holy prison. Even if we have to risk our lives, we must kill her. She's at her weakest now. Rumble. A heaven-splitting blood dragon swept across and 2 saint prison experts with rank 4 cultivation exploded on the spot. Who do you want to kill? She's at her weakest, but what about us? 2 figures floated in the air with murderous intent, directly intimidating the saint prison experts. Ji Wuchen, Zi Qianshou. These 2 monsters had recovered again. 8 Ninth Revolution saints or half-step saint kings could not stop these 2 guys at all. It's time to counterattack. Everyone, kill these bastards from holy prison. Wu clan, don't let them escape. The chaotic battle started again, and the battle became more and more intense. Chapter 1610. On the other side, Wuxuang actually had to use this move. It seems like the battle situation isn't optimistic. Lin Chen's eyes were sharp. The seed was almost buried, it was time for it to bloom. He had been suppressing his strongest trump card, not because he didn't want to use it, but because he wanted to give in. Yin Son of Heaven sneered cruelly. I didn't expect your people to have such a trump card, but so what if you're fully recovered? You, Lin Chen, still have no chance of winning in front of me. I was interrupted just now, let's continue to see who's better this time. As soon as he said that, the odd crystal in Ean's Son of Heaven's palm bloomed with extreme light and exploded. Boom, boom, boom. Inside Ean's Son of Heaven's body, there was a loud rumble that sounded like heaven and earth as endless waves of air swept over. The energy of a total of 70,000 odd crystals poured into Ean's Son of Heaven's glabella. His 100th holy point swelled up and endless holy power spread throughout his body. This guy can actually withstand so much odd crystal energy. Ultimate Shadow was surprised. Ah! Ean's Son of Heaven let out a painful scream as his body expanded rapidly and turned into a 5 feet tall giant. The wriggling veins all over his body were as thick as pythons and surged with 9-colored odd crystal energy. It was a shocking sight. 1. The 100th holy point between Ean's Son of Heaven's eyebrows bloomed with hexagonal starlight. But half of this holy point was condensed from pure odd crystal energy. Shangguanju, who was in the middle of the battle, had a slight change in expression. This Ean's Son of Heaven is even stronger than when he stopped me. This is completely comparable to the strength of a sacred king. Back then, Ean's Son of Heaven had consumed tens of thousands of low-grade odd crystals and a portion of middle-grade odd crystals to temporarily stop and fight against Shangguanju. But now, he had a total of 70,000 middle-grade odd crystals and 1/20th of them were high-grade odd crystals. The energy was nearly 10 times more than before. There was no doubt that Ean's Son of Heaven now had the strength of a sacred king. With a 9th-grade sacred artifact and ultimate shadow, Lin Chen and Little Shadow could only be crushed. Ha 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 ha. This is the power of a sacred king, how wonderful! This is definitely not my limit. One day, I will personally step into this realm. Ean's Son of Heaven laughed loudly. His laughter actually shattered the space crystal wall of the sacred king domain and cracked open a shocking vacuum crack. Don't worry, you're not the only one with a trump card. Lin Chen shouted coldly. Battle God set. Boom! The God of Heaven's 4 pieces of heaven set. At this moment, Lin Chen's invincible divine aura erupted from the 4-piece God of War set. Boom boom, boom. A series of explosions occurred in the void. This time, Lin Chen had merely released a wisp of his aura, but it was enough to blast the space within a radius of 1,000,000 miles into a vacuum. God set God 2 of TTTT. Lin Chen's body was surrounded by the God of Heavens set God of Heavens set God of Heavens set God of Heavens set God of Heaven. Lin Chen's meridians, flesh, blood, and bones had transformed into the body of a god surrounded by golden light. He could tear the galaxy with a snap of his fingers, and a drop of his blood could burn the sun, moon, and stars. His eyes were shrouded in divine radiance, and his fierce and murderous aura shook the clouds. Countless experts felt as if they were looking at a true god who was covered in golden armor and a cape of divine radiance, and his head was covered in golden divine radiance. 200,000 Supreme Force, 300,000 Supreme Force, 400,000 Supreme Force, 600,000 Supreme Force, 800,000 Supreme Force, 980,000 Supreme Force, 990,000 Supreme Force? His power was rising unstoppably. He wanted to break through the sacred king domain. Boom! The space under Lin Chen's feet suddenly shattered, and his power rushed to a whole new realm. The power of 1,000,000. Lin Chen's invincible God of War's aura that could destroy tens of thousands of planes descended upon the sacred king domain. All the 9th-grade sects watching the battle were shocked. Lin Chen opened his eyes, and the space in front of his eyes collapsed in an instant. The light was distorted, and the vacuum was completely shattered. It was as if a storm had turned into fragments that swept through the sky. An invincible aura of supremacy rose between heaven and earth, and it was actually on par with the Son of Heaven. The suffocating pressure made all the experts in disbelief, but they had no choice but to accept the subversive reality in front of them. Without a doubt, it was the pressure of a sacred king. Long Jiushan, who was at the side, lost his composure and shouted excitedly. He broke through. My lord broke through the sacred king domain. The pure power of a sacred king domain. The Son of Heaven's pupils shrank, and he said in disbelief, "There's actually such a killer move. This is the 4-piece God of War set God of Heaven with 60% charge. This is the first time I felt the possibility of exploding from pure power after obtaining the 4-piece God of War set God of Heaven. If it was the first time I obtained the incomplete God of War set gauntlet." Lin Chun casually raised his hand and flicked his finger. Golden light surged from his fingertip, and a golden divine radiance shot out, tearing through space. The divine radiance flashed past, and with a splashing sound, a bloody line appeared on the neck of a Wu family's 7th Revolution saint far away. It was so fast that the other party couldn't react in time. Extermination rupture was activated, and his saint body was separated, and he died on the spot. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a cold breath, and even the pupils of the Sacred King Realm experts shrank. Killing a 7th Revolution saint with a flick of his finger. Sacred King Realm. True Sacred King Realm battle prowess. The current Lin Chun wouldn't be afraid of fighting any of the experts present. Ultimate Shadow's expression was especially ugly, and he shouted coldly, Son of Heaven, work together, this is our only chance to win against them. Boom. The moment he said that, Lin Chun took a step forward and moved with pure power. When he coordinated with Little Shadow, he almost teleported the entire space. Wherever Lin Chun went, the vacuum shattered, and everything turned into chaos. The fist that was sparkling with golden light smashed towards Son of Heaven with a crushing force. This punch was like the full power of 1,000,000 venerables. This punch alone broke through the galaxy and swept through the sun and moon. The 15 feet tall Son of Heaven was sinister and crazy. His palm that was surrounded by 5-colored brilliance pushed forward, and the energy of billions of odd crystals faced Lin Chun head-on. Chi! Bang! Hundreds of mushroom clouds exploded with a bang. Heaven and earth were turned upside down, and a world-destroying hurricane swept through everything. Outside the No-God River, all the experts were forced to stop fighting and disperse. Little Shadow possessed him and coordinated with Lin Chun's movements, breaking 1,000 realms with one step and breaking the 9 heavens with one punch. Lin Chun grasped every second tightly, and his fighting spirit soared as his eyes shone with divine light. His momentum was like the wind and lightning, and one punch after another was like a raging wave. It was like a surging meteor shower, and it was like a violent storm raining down on Son of Heaven. I want to see how you're going to control this overdraft of power. Son of Heaven roared and mobilized a huge amount of odd crystal energy to attack head-on. Then let's see who's more ferocious. Come on. Come on. Lin Chun punched out violently. Every single one of his punches contained the power of 1,000,000 Zune masters, shaking the clouds. The two of them were like crazy demons as they fought head-on. Lin Chun and Son of Heaven were simply exchanging life for life. Neither of them took a step back. All the experts were scared out of their wits. The entire eastern part of the Sacred King region was turned upside down. Chapter 16:11. Lin Chun and Little Dark Shadow, Son of Heaven and Ultimate Dark Shadow, turned into 2 beams of divine light and fought. The 2 fought from the sky to the ground, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack. Everywhere they passed by exploded like a vortex, and everything was devoured and destroyed. It was like an apocalyptic natural disaster had descended. The fight between 2 Saint Kings was terrifying. But when 2 Saint Kings fought with their lives on the line, it was like a huge horror movie. It was a game of heartbeat. Even a 9-revolution saint would be crippled if they were caught in it. They might even die on the spot. Run. Crazy, both of them are crazy. This is the person that the future Dark Shadow King has to call Big Brother. I'm convinced, I'm really convinced. Don't King admit defeat, hurry up and pull me out. I'm going to be caught in it. Retreat. The people of Wu family, Holy Prison, and Divine Flame Palace were all implicated to different degrees. More than half of the experts were forced to stop fighting. Shangguanju's red lips opened slightly. The young boy who needed her protection back then was now standing on the same level as her. The elders of the Dark Shadow tribe couldn't help but look and exclaim in their hearts. Just now, when Little Dark Shadow asked them to call Lin Chen Big Brother, they were still a little unwilling. But now, the elders of the Dark Shadow tribe only wanted to give this big boss Lin Chen a cigarette, light it for him, and call him Big Brother. The combat power of a Saint King. In the Dark Shadow tribe, only the true innate Dark Shadow King could command them. Even the current Little Dark Shadow couldn't command a Saint King innate Dark Shadow before he ascended to the throne. Boom! A golden fist wind pierced through heaven and earth. Een Son of Heaven stepped on a tornado, and the shadows around him dodged to the side. Every move of the two had the destructive power of an orange rank battle skill, even if they didn't use technique. If they used techniques, it would be even more terrifying. Lin Chen's punch missed, and he turned his fist into a palm. When his 5 fingers grabbed onto the body of the ultimate shadow, he instantly captured it and Son of Heaven Yin's body. He then pressed Son of Heaven Yin's head down and raised his leg to smash it with a knee strike that could crush the sun and moon. Boundless odd crystal energy condensed into an arm, and Son of Heaven Yin slammed his elbow downwards. When he forcefully blocked Lin Chen's knee strike, he gripped the blood scythe tightly and swept horizontally. Lin Chen's fingers made a grabbing motion, and the divine battle armor blocked the attack. His fingers were like the claws of an eagle, and he actually caught the 9th-grade holy artifact with his bare hands. Wu Weiyang. There's such a way of fighting. Even someone as strong as the Divine Flame Palace's head Grand Elder looked as if she had seen a ghost. Her pretty face was filled with disbelief. What was this brat's vambraces made of? Lin Chen had received a 9th-grade saint artifact with his bare hand. Not only was there no mark on the vambrace, but even Lin Chen himself was completely fine. Grabbing the blood blade with his bare hands, Lin Chen soared into the air. Suddenly, he unleashed a powerful whip kick. Great grief soul-splitting palm. Son of Heaven Yin used a high-grade orange technique. Using his palm against the kick, his sacred power fused with the vast odd crystal energy as he struck down with his palm. Rumble. When Lin Chen was sent flying, he flicked his finger. Slow rune. Lin Chen threw out a slow rune with dozens of sacred runes energy. When he slowed down Son of Heaven Yin's attack, his 5 fingers suddenly clapped and ruthlessly crushed his high-grade orange technique. Bang! 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 Dark shadow flurry, and streaks of dark mist-like darkness flashed chaotically, stirring up terrifying spatial shockwaves. Not only were the two of them fighting, but the ultimate shadow behind them was also fighting. Son of Heaven Yin held the 9th-grade blood scythe tightly and waved his hands rapidly. Surging boundless blood chi slashed at Lin Chen as he used another high-grade orange technique. I didn't expect this brat to have such a trump card hidden. He can actually temporarily grow to the pure strength of a sacred king. If I let him go this time, I don't know how much he can grow to next time. I must take advantage of this battle to kill him. I can't let that old man ancient god get this brat to reverse the case for him. A dead person should be completely dead and disappear forever. The killing intent in Son of Heaven Yin's eyes was frenzied and sharp. Every move he made was to risk his life against Lin Chen. The fierceness of the battle far surpassed any sacred king's battle. I don't believe that this brat's temporary overdraft of power can withstand my massive amount of odd crystals. Son of Heaven Een brandished his 9th-grade sacred weapon again and again. The scythe's blade was unstoppable, and the blood moon-like slashes were like dried twigs. Every move had returned to its original state and seemed to have no order, but in fact, every move was cutting off Lin Chen's path of retreat. This was Son of Heaven Yin's only chance to kill Lin Chen. If he let Lin Chen escape, he had 2 sacred kings and so many peak rank 9 experts. It would be too difficult for him to touch Lin Chen after this. This was his first and last chance to kill Lin Chen. Therefore, Son of Heaven Een chose to fight to the death. Lin Chen's potential was too terrifying, and he had already witnessed it with his own eyes. If such a monster was allowed to grow to the Sacred Heart Realm or Heaven-Opening Realm, he, Son of Heaven Een, would forever live under Lin Chen's shadow. Therefore, he had to kill Lin Chen here. Just based on the fact that both of them had unleashed their trump cards, Lin Chen was still being suppressed by him. Defeating him was only a matter of time. Chi. The sharp blood light shrouded Lin Chen's path of retreat, forcing Lin Chen to be affected by it again and again. His star-chasing heavenly morning robe began to have cracks and blood flowed out. On the other hand, Lin Chen still hadn't broken through Son of Heaven Yin's defense, causing extermination rupture and annihilation explosion to be unable to display their effects. Lin Chen held on with all his might. His clone hid in the luck plant pouch and continuously used ambolite flowing light to heal his injuries, but he still couldn't keep up with the speed of his injuries. It's still not enough, I still can't defeat him with such strength. For someone as strong as Lin Chen, using the 4-piece God of War set to obtain pure strength was already the limit. The God of War set could continue to increase its energy consumption and power, but the prerequisite was that Lin Chen's sacred body couldn't take it anymore. I need a stronger killing move, so I can't waste the energy of the 4-piece God of War set. I have to stay calm and wait for the opportunity to come. The other sacred kings couldn't understand Lin Chen's attack. He could clearly use his movement technique and little shadow to avoid the other party's attack, so why did he have to fight in close range and insist on tearing apart the other party's defense? Other than wanting to perish together, the other sacred kings couldn't see through the second possibility. Son of Heaven Een sneered. You want to drag me down with you? You're really thinking for the ancient gods. You're simply dreaming, watch how I crush you. Rip. Space cracked as the blood scythe slashed over again. Lin Chen's eyes bloomed with crazy killing intent as he sent the sickle flying with a sideways kick. He then followed up with a whip kick with his fists smashing down like a divine hammer. He fought madly in close range all the way as if he was fighting with his life on the line with Son of Heaven Een. However, Lin Chen's injuries were getting more and more serious, and he was covered in blood. On the other hand, other than his aura being slightly chaotic, Son of Heaven Een didn't have any injuries at all. However, the Sea Heart Protection sacred light that he had created with the help of an 8th-grade defensive sacred artifact was faintly dimming, and even his defensive ultimate technique was broken by Lin Chen several times. Boom! Lin Chen punched out again at the cost of being injured, and he punched Son of Heaven Yin's chest in anger, piercing through the defense given to him by ultimate shadow. A crack appeared on the ocean blue protective sacred light around Son of Heaven Een. Boom! At this moment, Lin Chen's fighting spirit soared, and his eyes bloomed with terrifying killing intent. Now! Absolute life and death. Activate. Orange talent activated. Absolute life and death. Target selected successfully. Consuming 45 million top-grade talent points. Beginning to burn the host's life force in exchange for power, the strongest one-on-one talent, absolute life and death. Once activated, there was no way out. The battle to the death between both parties couldn't be stopped. Chapter 1612. Boom. An orange flame that flickered with starlight suddenly burst forth and burned fiercely from Lin Chen's body. Heaven and earth suddenly changed, and when Lin Chen's sky light and cloud shadow rushed over, his pure power was so terrifying that it shattered the void and started to soar again. 104 million supreme power, 108 million supreme power, 15 million supreme power, 25 million supreme power. It was unstoppable as it soared steadily. He still has a backup plan at this juncture? Son of Heaven Een was instantly moved, and a look of shock appeared on his face. That's right, Lin Chen from before was waiting. From the moment he realized that he wasn't Son of Heaven Yin's match in his God-Slayer state, he had been waiting. My lord! The servants all turned pale with fright. They could clearly feel Lin Chen's life force rapidly depleting through Zhou Tian's seal of death. Jiang Taishu shouted coldly, My lord has orders, no one is allowed to act recklessly. Focus on dealing with the enemy in front of you. Host has accelerated the usage of life and death decisive talent, increasing power by 1,100 times, 2,200 times, 3,500 times. Lin Chen's life force burned to its limit, and the transformation of his power happened in half a breath's time. It soared by 2 whole levels. Boom! At this moment, time and space collapsed, and the wind and clouds changed drastically. All space, time, and life force seemed to have been absorbed into Lin Chen's fist that was shining with golden divine radiance, forming an unprecedented vortex. In the center was all the pure power that Lin Chen had condensed. No, it seems like something even more terrifying has awakened in his body. The ultimate shadow seemed to have awakened instinctively, and it actually retreated in a panic, leaving Son of Heaven Yin's body. Son of Heaven Een burst forth as though he had gone mad. Lin Chen, I want you dead. He held a 9th-grade sacred weapon with both hands and executed his last high-grade orange ultimate art. With a swing of his scythe, a guillotine split open in the sky as though it led to life and death, to destruction and to new life. Reincarnation Guillotine was Son of Heaven Yin's strongest ultimate art. He was caught off guard by Lin Chen's sudden ultimate art, but he still didn't choose to retreat. Almost without giving Son of Heaven Een any time to react, Lin Chen swung his fist fiercely at Son of Heaven Een. The illusory guillotine split open a bloody crescent-like slash radiance, dividing heaven and earth as it met Lin Chen's most powerful fist head-on. This punch was like millions upon millions of heavenly dragons crashing down. It was as if 1,000,000 planes had sunk into oblivion at the same time. This punch pierced through all the light in the world. All the experts instantly felt the world sink into darkness, leaving only a faint golden afterglow that flashed across the horizon. Not good. Save them first. The Saint Kings of the various factions all sensed this terrifying aura of destruction and flashed out millions of miles in advance to protect the members of their respective factions. As for Lin Chen's servants and rank 8 powerhouses, they were the first to retreat. Boom! The vast heaven-piercing hole split open the eastern sky of the sacred boundary of the Saint Monarch domain and went straight to the 9 heavens, crushing the distant galaxy. Lin Chen's punch shattered at least dozens of continental plates and a large number of spatial planes. Fortunately, the spatial planes and continental plates in the direction of the Saint Monarch domain were uninhabited. Most of them were cultivation mystic realms, and very few people would go in and out. In the eastern sky of the Saint Monarch domain, 2 figures floated in the air. One of them was 15 meters tall, with saint acupoints all over his body, and the energy of his odd crystal was vigorous. He was bathed in blood, and the rank 9 sacred artifact he was holding had several cracks. It was Son of Heaven Een. When blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, his expression was filled with madness. The other person was surrounded by a scarlet glow and golden light. It was Lin Chen. In the battle just now, Lin Chen seemed to have a slight upper hand. but in the eyes of all the experts, it was only a slight upper hand. And Little Shadow had already moved to chase after the ultimate shadow. The innate dark shadow race had the richest resource vault of all the races, and they had countless trump cards for Little Shadow. He wasn't afraid of the 14th ultimate shadow at all. At this moment, although Lin Chen was panting and his vitality was about to be exhausted, he was full of energy as he stared in the direction of the Een Son of Heaven. There was blood at the corner of the Een Son of Heaven's mouth, and he opened his arms to the sky and laughed. No one can control my fate. Lin Chen, not even you. Ha 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 ha, your attack that exhausted your vitality is gone, and your legend is over. Is that so? Lin Chen suddenly laughed. Een Son of Heaven, I have always believed in you. Lin Chen's laughter became more carefree, and there was a sense of fearlessness. I believe that you are very smart, and I believe that the ancient god's eyes won't be wrong. I also believe that you will definitely attack and be eager to kill me. The Een Son of Heaven stared at his smiling face, and his body suddenly trembled as his pupils constricted. Lin Chen laughed. As long as I continue to hold on, you will definitely use all means to kill me here because this is your only chance. Indeed, my injuries are much more serious than yours, but I have countless chances to be injured, and you, Lin Chen smiled faintly, and his smile was domineering and overflowing with arrogance. And you, Een Son of Heaven, don't even have a chance to be injured. Crack, crack, crack. When a few crisp, cracking sounds reverberated through the void, the Een Son of Heaven's eyes started to become filled with disbelief. He could no longer sense his sacred power, and his sacred body started to shatter like porcelain. How is this possible? What move is this? Cracks appeared on the Een Son of Heaven's face, and he lowered his head to look at his body. His expression was filled with unprecedented shock and doubt. All the strong practitioners who witnessed this felt a chill rise from the soles of their feet and shoot straight to the top of their heads. Lin Chen had been waiting for the perfect opportunity. He had been suppressing the strongest trump card in his hand, and it wasn't that he didn't use it, but he wanted to use it at the most unexpected moment to unleash the strongest effect. If Lin Chen had met with Son of Heaven Een, he would have taken out all his trump cards and fought with him without any explanation. The result would be completely unknown. However, Lin Chen had been holding back and didn't hesitate to use a life-exchanging battle to deplete Een Son of Heaven's defense. He wanted to wait until Een Son of Heaven's state of mind was in a mess, and he would take the initiative to attack and take out his trump card. Once Een Son of Heaven took out his trump card, it would be the time when he would be determined to kill Qinmu, and it would be the time when he couldn't retreat. Only then would Lin Chen be able to take out his strongest trump card. Host has successfully killed the target. Life and death state has been removed. Host has triggered the extinction-splitting creation talent. Lin Chen's lost life force was all returned, and he was glowing with vigor, looking handsome and refined. But at the same time, Lin Chen's orange-gold eyes were slowly covered with a wisp of azure blue. Host has successfully activated the ultimate heaven-defying talent. Beginning to enter the ultimate heaven-defying talent, ultimate instant kill talent, instant kill talent. Scope of application, True God. Breaking through his defense meant instant kill. The strongest trump card had finally appeared. Lin Chen's lips curled into a smile, and it was peerlessly overbearing as it overflowed with arrogance. Under heaven defying, all living things are equal. Chapter 1613. Outside the Divine Flame Palace, Silver Sky Lake. This was a secret realm controlled by the Divine Flame Palace, and it had a powerful spatial barrier. Many traditional disciples of the Divine Flame Palace and Bai Ruoyan had gathered here. This was one of the safest places outside of the secret realms of the Divine Flame Palace. The four realm sea brothers were guarding Yi Qinggu, Ling Yueqi, and the others. Senior Sister Ruoyan, Can Lin Chen really succeed? Wu Pianju and the others have the support of the head Grand Elder. Yeah, even the people from the Saint Prison are here. It's too difficult to escape. Moreover, what will happen to the future of the Divine Flame Palace after we escape? The senior sisters of the Divine Flame Palace were worried. You're not allowed to question Master. Bai Qianqian frowned and shouted at the girls. Bai Ruoyan stroked Bai Qianqian's hair and smiled. Junior sister Qianqian, don't worry. I'll talk to them. Bai Ruoyan looked at the thousands of core disciples, deacons, protectors, and elders of the Divine Flame Palace. These were the people who did not betray Wu Pianju. They were the future core members of the Divine Flame Palace. She smiled. Elders, deacons, and junior sisters, don't worry. I've never doubted his ability. He never went back on his words. As for the future of the Divine Flame Palace, I already have a plan. With the power of the eternal sacred fire, when everything is over, the Divine Flame Palace will only be stronger and have more hope. Haha, that's true. An elder walked over and smiled kindly. With Goddess and Lin Chen's foundation, I have no doubt that you can revive the Divine Flame Palace. When the female true disciples thought of Lin Chen's epic team, their faces were filled with admiration and excitement. If this team joined the Divine Flame Palace, the Divine Flame Palace would definitely rise. Whoosh! At this moment, several streams of light flashed over. The Four Realms Sea Brothers immediately reacted and opened the spatial barrier. When Big Brother Four Realms saw the newcomer, he said in surprise, Senior Yu, why are you here? When they saw Yu Wangxing bringing Fei Wushuang over, Leng Yueqi and the other girls rushed over. When they felt Fei Wushuang's pulse, everyone's expression changed. Senior Fei Wushuang's injuries. Heavens, even her spiritual energy and saint energy have completely dried up. What happened? Not only the four brothers, but even the elders of the Divine Flame Palace had a sudden change in expression. For an expert of Fei Wushuang's level, it was impossible for her to be completely devoid of Saint Qi. To be so weak to such an extent, it was no different from having one foot in the gates of hell. What kind of great change had occurred in this battle? To be able to make such a child of an era fall into such a dangerous situation. Yu Wangxing adjusted his breathing and said solemnly, There's no time to explain. Protect me first. I'll treat her injuries and stabilize her life meridians and saint acupoints. Otherwise, her cultivation and life will be in danger. Don't move. At this moment, a delicate and ethereal voice sounded, and a beautiful crimson fairy flew over. It was Fairy Scarlet. Crimson Immortal's face was dignified. Her slender jade-like fingers stroked her cheeks, and a tear fell from the corner of her eye. What are you doing, Yu Wangxing was just about to stop her when he discovered that when her tears landed on his fingertips, they actually condensed into a dazzling drop of dew. This is reincarnation dew. One drop can replenish one's life, restore one's saint blood, heal one's saint bones, and merge with one's saint heart. Yu Wangxing was completely shocked. Reincarnation dew was a miraculous item in the universe that could only be encountered by chance. Even with his experience, he had only seen it twice. If Fairy Scarlet had taken out a drop of reincarnation dew, he would not have been so shocked. However, this reincarnation dew had fallen from her body. This woman has been with the Lord for a long time. Where did she come from? The Lord has never mentioned her before, but this old man sees that she's only at the peak of the life and death realm. How could she have such a terrifying foundation? No, now is not the time to dwell on this. Yu Wangxing threw away all his thoughts and said seriously, I'll stabilize her spiritual consciousness. Please help me, Fairy Scarlet. Fairy Scarlet smiled sweetly. As expected of a saint-grade alchemist who is about to step into the 9th grade. You're really reliable. Yu Wangxing circulated a gentle spiritual force in his palm and pressed it against Fei Wushuang's snowy forehead. Taking this opportunity, Fairy Scarlet stretched out her delicate hand and cut her palm with her fingertip. A line of blood appeared, and then peach-red blood dripped into Fei Wushwang's fragrant lips and flowed into her body. Looking at the peach-red blood, Yu Wangxing was once again shocked. This is the blood of Shengqiong, who was born with great luck. It's a legendary item that can only be born in a very small number of unique planes of destiny. Yu Wangxing was completely dumbfounded. Her tears turned into dew, and her blood became Shengqiong. Where did this woman come from? This was completely beyond the knowledge of a top alchemist like him. All right. Fairy Scarlet withdrew her hand, her face slightly pale, and her dimples blooming. Her life and cultivation are preserved. Let her rest her spiritual consciousness. With the combination of the two, Fei Wushwang's face began to regain its color, and her delicate body trembled slightly. Not only that, but her saint acupoints began to regenerate sacred power. This was the wonder of Shengqiong's blood. Fei Wushwang's saint acupoints were all empty, and without a trace of sacred power, she was very weak. Coupled with her current state where even her spiritual consciousness was completely unconscious, taking any kind of pill or method to replenish her sacred power was dangerous. But reincarnation dew could save her life, and Shengqiong's blood could allow her to regenerate sacred power and heal herself. There was no risk. Yay! Bai Qianqian jumped up excitedly. Sister Scarlet is the best! Fairy Scarlet covered her mouth and chuckled, high-fiving the excited Bai Qianqian. Ling Yueqi felt helpless. Lin Chen, how many flowers do you have to provoke? The little demon empress' beautiful eyes lit up as she stared at Fairy Scarlet, sizing her up. Looking at her exquisite and sexy figure, a charming smile appeared on her face. What a miraculous physique! It's so swollen, I wonder if there's any treasure hidden here. Instead of letting Lin Chen explore it first, why don't you let this lady touch it first? Yu Wangxing's thoughts were fruitless. He looked at the back of Fairy Scarlet and the other girls and shook his head in amazement. My lord is truly a god. To think that such a miraculous woman is willing to stay by his side in obscurity. In the endless dark void, this was a void plane somewhere in the Sage Monarch domain. Two balls of ultimate shadow in the form of dragons twisted and took shape. The ultimate shadow transformed into Tuo Xing's appearance and hid inside his body. Then, he sent a voice transmission unique to the Dark Shadow race. Why do we have to fight here? You and I are evenly matched. You can't kill me. We were both created by that damned old Tuo Xing. You're the only one in this world who can understand me, right? Why don't we shake hands and make peace? I can even work with you to decipher the secrets of the Dark Shadow race and become the two strongest beings in this world. The ultimate shadow sneered. Evenly matched? That's wishful thinking on your part. Rumble. The ultimate shadow unleashed a burst of power that blotted out the sky like a tidal wave. Dozens of dragon claws tore through the void and smashed toward the ultimate shadow. In the silent void, a showdown between the strongest Xiantian beings in the sacred boundary quietly unfolded. There was no need for two ultimate shadows in this world. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.